Shell,
Hi,
are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, this is going to be an interesting one.
Yes.
I'm going to give a little brief
Okay.
intro of what this
Okay.
episode is going to get into. It's a little bit different. You are a teacher here in Boise.
Yep.
You're a culinary teacher.
Yep.
And
I would say the title is Family and Consumer Science.
okay,
That's life skills, kind of home ec
perfect.
back in the day.
Okay,
Yeah.
home ec. I loved home ec. One of my favorite classes.
Yeah.
But your classroom is infested with mice.
Yes.
They're pissing and shitting on everything. They're in the stoves, they're in the ovens, they're in the washers and dryer, they're in everything. Dishwashers.
Yep.
You ended up contracting
Babesiosis and anaplasmosis. It's basically 2 co-infections of Lyme disease.
from ticks coming from the mice, and the school district is doing absolutely nothing about this. And your children are in these classrooms in these conditions, and you're currently home on med leave?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's it.
All right. I don't even know where to start with this one, but I guess
It's wild.
who are you and where are you from? Yeah,
Well,
this is wild chaos. This is
Yep.
this-
It's actually yep.
okay. So who are you? Where are you from? And
So
dive
I'm
into it.
originally from California.
Okay.
Sometimes I hate saying that. My husband
All right.
would say we've been here long enough. So
Yeah.
been here 24 years.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
My husband was a BLM smoke jumper for 14 years, which is what brought us here.
Nice.
And, yeah, he works for the Forest Service. So I'm just here, came to be a teacher and do what I love. So I have 2 kids. One is 19. She just finished college, and a
fun.
son who is a junior in high school.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you're right in there. You got the teenage
Yep,
life.
love it.
I know how
Love
that
it so
is.
much.
I
Yep.
love having teenage. I
They're
love
the
having a
best.
teenager.
That's why I love teaching that
Okay.
age. A lot of people ask, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I teach junior high," and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "What?" Love that age.
Okay.
They are just rock stars.
What made you want to be a teacher?
Actually, my first grade teacher.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. I just knew early on I loved kids. I loved educating and just teaching, and I feel like it's so good to create a relationship with the kids versus treat them like we own them, like treating them like they're humans.
Yeah.
And I never have issues in my classroom, like behavioral issues, because I treat them like they're human versus
A student?
regulating. Yeah. Regulating like, oh, you can't go to the bathroom. You've only had, 3 times to go this semester. I'm just a little bit more chill. Some teachers don't like it. Some teachers love it. My students love it. I have their respect all the time. I never have a problem.
I feel to have the respect of a class of teenagers is probably a very difficult thing to do this day and age.
Oh, huge.
So that shows obviously something's working.
Yeah. It's definitely, that's what they usually tell me at the end of the semester, or I just received 4 letters from seniors at Bora, and they said, gosh, if it wasn't for you, I don't think I would be here.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're making an impact on these kids' lives. And I love to hear this because we're homeschoolers.
Yeah.
We're out of the system because I feel the direction, a huge part of it is obviously the schools and the curriculum.
Yep.
And just the cookie cutter molds, which I feel most teachers fall under.
Oh, 100%.
Is that hard for
Well,
you?
we kind of are. So I think we're put in kind of a box.
Okay.
Sometimes, we have to follow regulations, state requirements. We have to,
Mhm.
right? But there is a point in time where you get to a place where you're like, gosh, I want to be able to teach other stuff, or I want to be able to venture out. And some of us are creative enough to do it the right way.
Okay.
But it is hard because politics get involved, and, the unions get involved, and the state.
Do you feel public schools would be, I don't know how to word this, more efficient if they just, instead of these strict guidelines that come down from the government,
Mhm.
if they were, hey, you're a history teacher, they allowed the teachers to be able to build their curriculum, or does that kind of get down a muddy road because then you could start teaching?
We do, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, we have to follow state guidelines, of course. I love teaching, period. And I do feel like the Boise School District is a great school district,
Mhm.
minus how we're handling my situation. But we usually get together a lot throughout the school year and really put our heads together in terms of like our curriculum. So
Okay.
myself and all of our junior high teachers will get together, and the high school teachers will get together, and we go over state curriculum and we navigate it, like how can we better do this and what, so we do have a say to an extent. We
Mhm.
really do. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to teach this lesson. So there is a lot of play. For myself as an elective teacher, I can't speak
Mhm.
for history, math.
Yep.
They have a way heavier load,
For
I
sure.
feel, for education
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
especially with like state testing and stuff.
But I feel where you come into, I didn't even know they still did. I'm just going to call it home ec.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize they still did it because I did it,
I love
and it was what I learned how to. My daughter's like, you know how to sew, Dad? And I tell him, if you ask her,
Yeah.
yeah, I had home ec when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and we'd make these stuffed animal and turn them inside out, stuff them, pull them, like that was like the basics of everything, and it
It's huge.
carried through life. And then when joining the military, it was like I knew how to sew. It was just one of those weird things, and my daughters always thought it was super strange that like Dad knows how to sew. And
Yep.
it goes all the way back to home
It's
ec.
so good. I mean, in California, they got rid of it.
Yes.
So it's so good. I'm so glad our district supports it, especially with our DTech building. They have
Yeah.
a lot of stuff there for CTE is what we are, career technical education. So there's a lot to offer with it, and I hope they keep it. I really do.
Or is there talk of them not?
No, I mean, I feel like they're kind of pulling apart my curriculum and kind of divvying it out a little bit. So they took like the career side of stuff, and they've got like a career class that's mandated for kids to take. So then we're like, well, wait a minute, we teach that too. So, and then like health is in PE, they do health there. There's a finance class they're now mandated to take that's separate, and we teach finance. So there's little bits and pieces, but I see it as kind of a positive thing, because if they're taking a full class, like a full semester class on finance,
Mm-hmm.
then I can turn around and put my focus in a different area,
Okay.
longer.
Okay.
So I don't think they're going to get rid of it.
Have you seen teenagers change in the last few years since COVID? Just because we're out, and that was a huge reason during that time was the games and the mask on, mask off, can't talk, it was, and that's where the wife was like, we're done.
Oh, is that
We're
when
done.
you guys pulled?
When the little one went, she ended up developing an eating habit, like I don't want to say a disorder, but it was an eating habit, and my wife picked up on it immediately. She's like, I want you to watch. And our youngest would come home and just stuff her face, and then she'd crash. And she's like, this isn't right. And then
So she wasn't eating at school?
because the only time that the kids were able to socialize was during lunch. So they would just blow through lunch, not even eat it, dump their trays, and go outside just to talk.
That makes sense.
So then she's coming home starving, and then she's crashing. And so my wife's like, we're done. We're done. They're not playing with my kid. You start messing with my kid, we're done. And so that's when we made our decision. But you see so many statistics and stats and of these kids and how that period like just completely destroyed them socially. I mean, a lot of these kids were dependent on schools to get away from home, things like food, just getting lunch, breakfast and lunch at school.
Well, and the support too. I mean,
having teachers like yourself.
Realistically, the kids spend more time with us than they do their families.
Yes, I've talked about it on this podcast. I think one of the last episodes was I did with the wife. I saw a study that they did a study on dads and how much time they spend with their children a day, and it came down to 13 minutes. Undistracted attention with your child after they get home from school, you get home from work, 13 minutes on average a day.
Wild.
Sad.
Yeah.
So back to that question, have you seen a change in these kids over the last few years? I mean, you've been in it for a while. I mean, is it getting better or worse?
Well, since I wasn't there this year.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen my own 2 kids, and I see them getting better. My son has gotten so much better since COVID. He wasn't too affected by COVID like a lot of my students were, but I think social media had a huge impact when we were online learning.
Okay.
I mean, kids are sitting on their phones all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And with my elective, it was really difficult to give them anything to do with what I teach.
Okay.
We would try to say, hey, why don't you try and make this at home, or let's come up with a project, but not all the parents could supply them with
Yeah.
everything they needed.
Yep.
So it was a little bit difficult. But I do think we're turning around. I think that the kids that are in ninth grade right now are like at that bitter end mark. And maybe I'm wrong because I haven't been there this year. So I don't know, how they've been behaving in the halls. But again, I struggle with giving that answer because I just never really experienced behavioral issues in my classroom.
Really?
Mm-mm. My class kind of became a dumping ground. Like if there was a problem kid, it would be like, hey, let's just put it in home ec because I'm an elective. And I'd be like, okay, I'll take them. And then a lot of teachers, they'd make comments like, oh God, have fun. And I'm like, it's fine. We'll figure it out. And it's just building a rapport with them
Absolutely.
and honestly figuring out each kid. I can't treat, I have, 20 to 22 kids in a class.
Mm-hmm.
I can't treat all of them the same.
Absolutely
It's
not.
never going to happen.
No way.
So yeah, I just treat them like humans and we work through whatever. And I started life coaching kids on the side.
Really?
So yeah, because they would just come to me with a lot of problems, and I would recognize kids that were struggling, and then I would reach out to the counselors and I'd say, hey, I think so and so needs some help, and they would come back to me and they would say, how did you know? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
You're paying attention.
I just pay attention. Yeah, I just pay attention, and I have a really big heart, which makes, I think, this situation so hard. A lot of people are probably thinking like, oh, she's on vacation. No, it's been worse than not teaching.
And it sucks because just the quick conversation we had before, doing this podcast, and you can tell that you're very passionate about these kids. Why is there such a disconnect between teachers and students? Like, is it just a job for them? Are they burned out? Because I feel the amount of teachers that actually truly care, and I'm not speaking for all.
Yeah.
But I feel the amount of teachers that truly care for their children are just shadowed by the teachers that are just by the numbers. Here's a curriculum. Have a nice day. Get out of my class. Move on.
I think I don't think people realize how much is on a teacher. I just don't think there's a lot. There's a lot that gets put on teachers.
Like what?
And I feel like I have it a little bit easier in terms of not having to worry about state testing and worrying about getting all those kids
Certified.
Yeah, and just brought up to speed. When you're teaching math, you've got 4 or 5 levels in your class, and you're trying to balance the excelled kids, the lower end kids, and you have a lot on your plate. So I feel like when you're teaching kind of a solid subject, math, science, history, English, you have to meet so much criteria. I don't.
Okay.
So I have more freedom to spend more quality time with those kids, like at all levels. Does that I don't know if that answers.
It makes a ton of sense, but that also, I have another question. If you're able to spend that much quality time, one-on-one time, I feel you're putting out a better student than just prepping a kid to take a state test.
True.
Do you feel if we took away state testing, which accomplishes nothing anyways, there's
Right.
Where the fuck are you the day you graduate?
What are you going to do with it?
Nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
So if we took away the state testing and it's more focused on
The learning
and a quality of life for these kids, like you're giving them, you would be putting out a better product into society of a kid that actually knows how to function, talk, communicate, enjoy school, instead of here's our ticks, here we have to hit this by checkpoint by this. You all need to be tested by this point in the year to pass the state test, because then it comes back on the teacher if you have a bunch of kids that are failing, right? So that's where the pressure comes from.
Colleges, with my daughter applying to school, you didn't need the SAT. Oh. They got rid of it. I mean, they didn't get rid of it. You still take it. My son just took it.
It's not like a requirement.
But yeah, my son put it up on his lacrosse profile, and my daughter's like, don't do that. It doesn't matter. And I was like, that's crazy. So why does it matter now?
Yeah.
So that could be definitely a part of it. I just think that the state puts so many demands on the district, and then the district has to pass those demands back down onto us. And sure, I have a few things like I have to worry about, but as an elective teacher, I from that standpoint, I have it much easier.
For sure.
But on the other side, nobody really realizes, like, I don't give my kids an hour-long test and go sit behind my desk. I am on my feet all the time. I'm at the grocery store at 5 in the morning. I'm at the grocery store at 10 o'clock at night. We're prepping labs. We're getting, cutting out fabric. We're constantly moving. So it's just different.
It's not, oh, it's Friday, test,
Right.
test, you got a spell test,
Yeah, I get to
math
sit
test.
down behind my desk and,
Mhm.
grade papers. I don't
Yeah.
have a lot of free time.
Got it.
So it's hard to say. I think testing is definitely, I think it takes away from what a teacher could potentially do in their classroom.
That just kind of makes sense to me, especially if now that they're going away, you see this colleges, it's not required anymore. I mean, maybe some Ivy League school will give a shit, but
Right.
how many of these kids are going off
Well,
to,
my daughter got into Vanderbilt and
they didn't care?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder where that's going to go in the future, because you hear about it, like California and all these other weird states are
Right.
doing away with it, and you feel that it's a bad thing, but then having this conversation is like, okay, well, if that teacher had the pressure off of them to hit these checkpoints, just to show the state, cool, hey, we're good, we get our funding,
Right.
let's move on. But instead, that teacher could have more of a personal relationship with these kids to be able to connect and just help these kids through life.
Depending upon, your lifestyle too at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many kids do you have at home? What's going on in your life to then come to the classroom and try to, compartmentalize your own life and the things going on. It's a balance for sure. And we're expected to take a bullet. That's the other part. We don't get paid enough to have to stand in front of all of our students and take a bullet. And I would. I've told my students that, and that's what I feel like I'm kind of doing right now, is I'm taking a bullet for every single one of my students in this situation.
Because nobody's doing anything about this. All right, let's dive into it.
Okay.
When did this start, of this mouse infestation in your classroom? Let's just start there.
Okay, so I started teaching at West Junior High in 2018.
Okay.
I was their permanent sub, just kind of came in, rescued their teacher that retired. And then I went to North Junior High for a year and then came back to West. So in fall of 2019, I took a mouse home with me in my work bag. It chewed through the lining. I was carrying in my stuff. I put it on the floor of my own home in the kitchen, and it scurried out into my pantry.
You're telling me the mice are so bad in your classroom that they're getting in your personal handbag, and you're bringing them home?
And I brought it home. Yes. And I told my principal. I came back the next day, told my VP, told my principal, and they just kind of laughed at me. They were like, "Oh my God, that's so gross, ew." And just kind of in passing walked by me. And at the time, I was getting a emergency credential. So I was disposable, so to speak. Like, I didn't have protection. They could have said, "We're not keeping you."
You're still subbing in a way, or you
kind of? I was getting an alternative credential, so to speak. So like I had my elementary credentials, but I didn't have junior high, and I needed my FCS like endorsement certification.
And that just comes with time or anything?
Yeah, like you can work while you do it. They have a really great state program to do that. So me being a new teacher, loving my school, loving the staff I was with, loving the students in my job, I just kind of sat there and said, okay.
Because you can't really ruffle any feathers because you're replaceable at this point. You're not locked in.
Right. So,
okay.
And like I said, love my job.
When did you know this was starting to become a problem, or was it already a problem when you took on the position?
I didn't know there was a problem. This was my first indication. The second indication was when I had a substitute reach out in the middle of the day in my classroom and tell me a mouse ran across her foot in the kitchen room. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, and honestly, at that point, I was just like, okay, we're by a field. We have mice. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, you have field mice.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
They would bring in a sticky trap or two and, stick it in the corners of.
Were you catching mice in these traps?
Mm-hmm.
Like daily?
No, at this point it wasn't daily. But my room was,
okay.
Like my room was really small, and like my desk has the washer and dryer right behind me. And I one day heard this like hissing, and I looked, and there was a mouse like squirming on a sticky trap between the
No.
Yeah, so I'd go get my vice principal. At this time, we got a new VP, so it was a guy. So I was like, hey, Mr. England, can you come get this mouse out of here? And it's like I can't touch it. And they would come, they'd get it, and then they'd put a new trap. And again, I was still, I was disposable for like my first 2 years, and then
Oh,
then
really?
we hit COVID, and then COVID came, we couldn't cook, so then I wasn't in my classroom. So they just had this chunk of time to breed
Establish.
and nest and do whatever. So I wasn't in there.
So you got like this ratatouille,
Yes, exactly.
full on kitchen thing going while during COVID.
You're like Cinderella with all the mice and the sewing and the cooking. And I was like, really? That's great.
Okay, I guess Cinderella, yeah.
Okay.
You're just out here.
Yep.
There's fucking birds landing on your finger. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
Yeah, I was like, no, this isn't okay.
Okay.
So COVID came and went. We slowly moved back into the kitchen.
How was, okay, COVID's winding down.
Mhm.
You're able to go back to your kitchen. So now the mice,
Mhm.
have had a significant amount of time to
Yes.
infiltrate and now establish dominance in this classroom.
And the building. So like my room
Okay.
became their nesting ground. The way I understood it from the exterminator, once we finally got one in there, is your room is the perfect nesting ground because you have food, I have warmth because I don't have any windows. There's no ventilation, but I have 5 ovens, 2 refrigerators, a washer, a dryer, 2 dishwashers in a really small space. It creates heat.
Mm-hmm.
There's insulation in those things. They take the insulation, they make a nest, and then they travel through the building. They come back. Because I wasn't the only teacher that had a mouse in their room. My neighboring teacher had one. They would come from the outside door and like run across her room. They came across her desk. We had them in the office. My principal had a mouse nest in her printer. So it wasn't just my classroom.
But
they made it their home.
this is where you're cooking and you're teaching kids how to cook, and you have mice pissing and shitting on everything.
Everywhere.
And not even just pissing on it. They're whatever they touch, they're
everywhere.
They're contaminating everything.
So after COVID, well, we got back into the kitchens. I'd find, droppings here and there. I'd send the email, hey, I found mouse droppings. We might need to bring in some more traps or, what have you. And then I came back from Christmas break, January of 2023, and I had multiple dead, decomposing mice on sticky traps under my sinks and in my curriculum closet.
Like multiple per trap?
No.
Or just mice in every trap?
Just like a mouse or two like a mouse under this cabinet on a trap, and then, puddles of urine, and then droppings on the oven, and then, more droppings under this sink. And then I went into my curriculum closet because at that point, when my student found it, I was teaching kitchen safety, and I said to this kiddo, I'm like, go under kitchen one's cabinet and grab me the sanitation bucket because I was teaching them sanitation. And he opened the door and he like covered his face like this, and he's like, oh my God. And the whole classroom, because they all know, the kids all know. I've been kicked out of my room multiple times because I found mice and parents called and complained, and my principal's like, oh, we'll just kick you out for now.
That was my next question. Yeah. I feel if my wife caught wind of this,
they're not happy.
Plowing through this school to find something out.
They're not.
So you're dealing with it's affecting students.
Yep.
So now your students are finding the mice piss and shit and dead carcasses, and they're telling their parents. So now you have parents reaching. So now you have that stress of parents coming down on you, rightfully so.
Right. 100%.
Can't blame them at all.
In 2019, when my first semester truly there as like the actual contracted teacher, I took the mouse home with me in my bag, and then I had students pull out baking sheets. We were making Christmas cookies. It was finals week. We make cookies for finals. So we pull out the sheet, and one of my students said, I think this is mouse poop. And I was like, oh. So we went and showed it to the principal, and she was like, no, it's just crumbs. It's fine. Well, that student,
you know what a mouse poop is.
You do, but I will give, this is the only place I will give my principal any credit, is I was like, okay, fine. It was difficult to tell in this moment. So I'll give her that. That parent called my principal. Principal came down the next day and said, we just need to keep this parent happy. So we're just going to remove you from the room for the rest of the week. There's only 3 days left. So go to the cafeteria and play games. So that's what we did.
That was their solution. Just go play games in the cafeteria. Well, they did nothing. They're helping clean this room during this point.
No.
So the room's just sitting stagnant.
Yep.
Allowing the mice to continue what they're doing.
Yes.
But you're now in the cafeteria with your students just playing games.
Yes. Now, granted, they do the cafeteria or the custodial cleaning every night, right? So they go in, they mop the floor, they sweep the floor, they wipe the counters, they do their standard cleaning.
Yeah, but when you have
that, to me, like if we have a mouse problem, at that point, we've got a sub that's complained. I took a mouse home in my bag. Now we have a parent calling. At that point, that is when I feel my principal should have called the district and said, hey, I think we may need to get like a quarterly service on our building. We have a problem. Not to mention, she had a mouse nest in her printer. We had mice in the front office. It invaded our food pantry for the students who don't have food.
Explain that. What's the food pantry?
So out front, there's like a big, now it's a metal pantry. Beforehand, I think it was just like a plastic,
Okay.
Double door, whatever. And it's full of food for kids. And they know they can go to it and they can get food if they need to.
Cool.
It's very cool.
Okay.
But it got infested. So they had to.
So you're telling me these kids that are financially not, and they're able to, a lot of kids get food from school.
Yeah.
Are depending on this.
Yes.
And now that food is infested with mice.
And who knows what they took when it was unknown to be infested until it was known. Does that mean, because
is this going on right now?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So fast forward past COVID, we find all this infestation in January of 2023. I send a very detailed email to my administrator and I put the custodial staff on it like I've been instructed to do. And I got the same standard response that I always get. And it actually wasn't even addressed to me. She just responded to the custodial staff and said, hey, could you get Michelle more sticky traps? And at that point, I was like, okay, I don't know what more you need to hear that we have mouse nests behind the washer machine. Sorry. In my sewing machines, in cupcake pans, there's droppings everywhere. There's dead, decomposing mice. At that point, I would think that I would get some face-to-face contact, that my principal would come down and be like, oh my gosh, this is gross. Let's get this figured out together, together. Because I understand that we have a field behind us. I understand we're going to have mice.
For sure.
I get it, right?
For sure.
But that was her solution. And I waited for almost 14 days before I got another response from her to get any help. And at that point, I said, nope, I'm going to HR. And that was really scary for me to do because I never want to get anybody in trouble. I'm always worried about everybody else's feelings and who am I going to upset and who's going to get mad at me and who's going to think badly of me if I go to HR. But I just got to a point where I was like, something has to give. Like, this is not safe.
I mean, you have to look out for the kids' well-being.
Right.
I mean, now it's,
right.
I mean, it's probably way past the point of safety for these children. I mean, realistically, this should have been dealt with 2 years prior.
100%. Right. And at the time, too, I started getting sick and I didn't know why.
Really?
I was seeing my doctor. I had a hysterectomy. She's like, your endocrine system's failing. We don't know why. We'll do a hysterectomy. Maybe that will help because I was super anemic. And then that didn't fix it. So then I just kept, and I never mentioned my classroom because why would anybody think, right, that you're sick from a classroom, right? I didn't think anything of it. And then we got the exterminators in. We started getting traps and the big, the poison boxes behind all the ovens.
Which just kills them and they run off into the walls and die and stink.
And then mice eat on their dead.
Yes.
Dead mice bring in new mice. So then I kept finding more mice and more droppings and I kept emailing and the exterminators would come back and, we'll put a door sweep on your door. Because here's the funny thing is I kept being told that I was the problem, like that I'm the reason the mice are coming in because either I left lab food on my back counter during my day. And I'm like, well, I teach 4 different classes a day. All 4 classes are doing a different lab. So I have 3 minutes between classes to flip my labs. So there's a back counter where I'd leave, if we're going to make French toast, there's 3 loaves of bread. So then I would go and I'd flip. And I said to the exterminator, I said, so let me make sure I understand this. The mice are coming in from the outside doors and they're like talking to each other and saying, hey guys, make a hard left, go into room 113. I don't think that's the case. This is a building problem. This is not like a me problem.
Even if you were leaving something out, I feel you should be able to leave something
That's
on
what
your
I
counter
said.
in the middle of the day.
That's what I said. I was like, wait, I should be allowed to use my classroom as it needs. And here's the part that really got under my skin is I started getting, I felt I was being harassed.
How?
It was just always me. Make sure you have the food in mouse protected containers. Make sure everything is in a box, everything's in a plastic container. But yet, all the other teachers in our building, who we all put snacks in our desk drawers, no one was ever told. My principal would never, ever put out like a mass email to say, hey
You're the
guys,
problem.
I'm the problem. And then I would go into the break room and I would go to get like a cup of coffee or something and I'd open the cabinets and there's a loaf of bread and bags of sugar, not in plastic containers, or cookies and scones and stuff and shit all over the table, like for the
And you're
staff to
like,
eat. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like I get they're nesting in my room, but they are not just in my room. They're all over. So why couldn't we all come together and all of us fix this problem?
nothing.
Mm-mm.
So let's get back to the part I kind of detoured a little bit of you getting sick.
Oh, yeah.
So you're telling me you had a full hysterectomy,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as a woman,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
pretty big
Yeah.
deal. I'm not speaking for women, but
It was hard emotionally, physically. I
absolutely.
mean, I know I was done having kids, but
Still,
still.
you had a full hysterectomy
Mm-hmm.
because of the problems that you're having,
Yes.
and you had no idea
Mm-hmm.
it was related to your classroom.
And it sounds, even saying it out loud, to me, it was weird. When my doctor told me this, I thought, this is crazy. Are you sure? And they were like, we're sure.
Sure what?
So once I finally went back to my doctor and I was like, hey, I don't know if this is possible, but my classroom is infested with mice. This was in March last year. So I did I did the hysterectomy. I did a whole bunch of tests. I was constantly going back to the doctors.
Nothing's coming
They're
up.
just like, we don't know what it is. You know, your endocrine system is crashing, your pituitary gland's not functioning, you're in adrenal failure.
Did you think mold by any chance or?
No, I mean, like they think environmental, right?
Okay,
When
yeah.
you're starting. So then I was like referred to functional medicine. So then
Okay.
I went to functional medicine and they're like, you know, maybe it's a detox of something. Are you in a weird environment? And I was like, well, I mean, I work in a building, so with mice. And they were like, well, tell me more. And so then I kind of dropped little tidbits, but I was very like, oh, that's just weird, right? It's just weird. And then last March, while I'm going through all these tests, different things, different medications, um, I was cooking with my students in my room, and I had a guy come in to look at my oven to fix it because it sounded like a spaceship. He unscrewed the top.
So
Yeah, so I was like, I got this guy coming in, got permission from the district to have him come in, so it's not like I did anything, out of line. And he unscrewed the ovens, and my kids were making pizza, and he lifted the top, and he kind of tells me to come over, and he lifts it, and the insulation of the oven was soaked in mouse urine and covered in hundreds of droppings. So then he's like, do you want me to go check the other ones? And I was like, yeah. So he went and checked them all. They're all infested. So
these poor kids.
so I immediately, I felt so stupid, but I started to cry. So I was like, oh my God. So I told my students, I'm like, stop what you're doing. And he's like, they're fine. Let me go get the principal. And I'm like, yeah, go get my principal. I want her to make this executive decision of what we do next because I have been the one begging to get help. And I was just spent. I was so pissed and I was so frustrated to be in this situation again. And I do want to take one step back though. When my first infestation happened in January of 2023, they gutted my entire curriculum closet and put it into another room and then made me go in there and like thumb through everything and put the stuff I wanted to keep to one side and the other stuff to this side. And now there's that. Not only did they take the contaminated closet, turn it into the custodial closet, which then contaminated the custodial closet, but they put everything from the closet like into the hallway when the kids were in the building. So then it was airborne and they were urinating all over my cookbooks and urinating all over cupcake liners and pans and books. I mean, you name it.
So your curriculum closet, which holds
Everything.
everything that you're cooking,
Yeah.
sewing, cutting, whatever, home ec,
Yeah.
anything, is covered in
everything. Yeah,
mouse
we had to
urine.
throw away a bunch of stuff, and I was getting mixed messages. I was told, "Oh, you can't touch it," but then I'd get an email saying, "You need to go in there, and you need to go through everything, and you need to tell the custodial staff what you want to keep, what you don't want to keep." I was never given like PPE. I never had a mask. I didn't have gloves, and I just was. And then they shut down my kitchen room, and they shut down my lecture room. They moved me upstairs into a bigger room. I had to move all my stuff. It was utterly a nightmare. An utter nightmare. And it really made, I think it like made my principal and I butt heads because it was so insane. It was just wild chaos. It was wild freaking chaos. Like legit,
You're living it.
legit. Like,
You are
that's why I
living
was
it.
told to come on here, legit. And so yeah, so it just it made me angry because I kept getting the runaround the entire time. It was just I could never get straightforward answers. I never felt like anyone was working like with me. It just felt like I was on this island by myself trying to make it safe.
So obviously the principal has a mouse nest in her printer.
Mm-hmm.
Other teachers have them run across their feet and they're seeing these mice. None of these other teachers are stepping up and be like, "Hey, our kids are in like these."
I can tell you why. We're afraid.
Really?
Yeah.
Of what? Losing your job because you're speaking up?
Like what I'm experiencing right now. Like this is lonely. It sucks.
So now you feel like you're the target
Mm-hmm.
for speaking up for these kids and trying to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is what doesn't make that.
Sorry. It makes me a little bit emotional.
No, I mean, you care for these kids and you haven't been here this whole year. You're missing a whole entire year with your students. I mean, you're very passionate about it.
And the staff. Like our school, it's amazing. Like my school that I work for, minus my principal and my situation with her, every single teacher in that building is incredible.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
Okay, good.
You could not walk through that hall and point out like, oh God, everybody supports everybody. Everybody loves everybody. And I feel like I'm being looked at as a shit disturber. And I guess
from all the teachers or the principal?
All the teachers, because
why though? If this is putting kids' health at risk, you had a hysterectomy and you contracted 2 diseases from Lyme disease from these mice. Why aren't these teachers standing up and saying something and coming together?
Afraid. Because
of what?
Well, I mean, you see what's going on in the district, right?
Yeah.
All the stuff.
There's a lot of shit going on.
A lot. And in all sincerity, I have no support from the entire district.
So you're the whistleblower on this and nobody has your back on it?
Nope. In my opinion, I just keep getting lied to. And
how? Like they're just they're making light of the situation?
Well, I'm led down these rabbit holes of, oh, we fixed it. And then they didn't. And then it would be, don't worry, we replaced the ovens. And they didn't. And so, I do think there's like a stigma around me as like, oh, she's just not a very smart person or she's not very strong. And they have underestimated me. And
why would they think that?
I don't know. It's just this feeling I have that they think I am some stupid housewife teaching FCS. Like,
oh, because you're not considered.
Yeah, I'm not a history teacher or, this big wig math teacher. And I teach FCS. And to me, legitimately, I feel like I'm a stay-at-home mom for 160 kids every semester. That's how I feel because I love it.
I feel like that would be probably, besides a gym coach, that you get to have a great relationship with kids.
Yeah.
You're not stressed on doing, is it a jealousy thing because you have a good relationship with your students?
I just think they don't think I'm very smart.
Okay.
And I am. And I just caught them. And I had my own ways of doing it. I They'd say I fixed it. I'd be like, okay. So I'd go back down to the school. I'd I know how to use some tools, and I would open up my ovens myself. And I'm like, oh, no.
So they're straight lying to you. The principal's,
My opinion,
in
yes.
your opinion, the principal's straight up lying to you.
Well, it's more the district as a whole now.
Okay.
So after the 2023 infestation and working through all of that, then we got to March of 2024 where I found all the ovens infested. At that point, my husband's like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this shit show. So that night we went down there to my classroom, and he unscrewed the dishwashers. And when he shimmied them out, we're talking like 100+ mouse droppings just fell out from the dishwasher. And then there was like mouse diarrhea, like sliding down. And then there was
Kids are sitting in this classroom all day?
and it's probably no bigger, maybe a hair bigger than this room. In all reality, it's not a big room. It's not. So then he got down on the floor with a flashlight, and there's mouse nests underneath the dishwasher. So then he went and pulled the other dishwasher, same thing. And it just got to a point where I was like, why is this so hard to just be like, okay, we got a problem. We're going to fix this. Michelle, on a day-to-day basis, like, what does your class look like? What does this look like? What can we do? How long do we think, you could be out of here? We need to do this. We need to do this. Should we check the refrigerators? Yes, let's check. Like, let's work together. Let's just talk to each other and work together. I would have never went and got an attorney. Even being sick, I would have never went and got an attorney.
And I don't even think we've really covered all of you being sick yet. There's so many different angles that we
Right.
jump onto. So when did you find out they related everything from the Lyme disease
Okay.
to that? When did you start putting the pieces together that these mice that are infested into your home ec classroom have now carried over to you, causing you to be sick, you to get a hysterectomy, you to go through all this testing to realize you got 2 diseases from Lyme disease, right?
So in March, when I found the ovens, I went back to see my doctor. I had like a scheduled appointment, and I said, hey, I'm like, okay, my room is like really infested again. And I said, could I be sick from this? And she's like, let me go talk to the head honcho of our place, Dr. Holdhouse. So she goes to him, and he's like, it might be rare, but she could have Lyme disease. So let's test her.
That's a thing.
So I'm like, okay. And I hemmed and hawed. I really did, because I was like, is this even possible? And at the time, I was also seeing a rheumatologist.
Okay.
Who, come June, was like, you have RA. And I had also been told, like, do you have like tested for Hashimoto's, like all these autoimmune diseases. And one of the things with Lyme disease is it's hard to diagnose because it mimics autoimmune. It mimics other things. So it was mimicking MS. They did a head CT and a head MRI because they thought I had MS.
Good
And
God.
they thought like, oh, you have RA. So they put me on all these meds.
What's RA?
Rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
Because I couldn't like use my hands. I kept cutting myself with my knives at school, which I had to go to the nurse many times almost to get stitches at the ER because my hands wouldn't work. So I was like, well, let's do the test. Well, it's $2,000. So I was like, all right, fine. I don't care. Just do it.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, in July, came back positive. And I was dumbfounded. And they were dumbfounded because they were like, all right, let's narrow this down. Well, I had one picture in my phone. So I started going through my phone to rally all my mouse pictures because I documented everything. And I came across a picture that I sent, actually a live video I sent to my husband as I was sitting in my desk chair, and I had like 8 or 9 bites like around my watch band. And I remember sending it to him like, what the hell is this? And when I showed that to my doctor, they were like, those correspond with the tick larva bites that would come from a mouse. And they were on my desk. I mean, my keyboard to this moment with proof from my inspection is covered in mouse urine. So the mice are running across my desk. So I didn't know that's what that was at the time. So putting everything together.
God.
So then they're like, okay, well, you're going to need treatment. And I was like, and at this point, come March, my doctor's like, you are in adrenal failure. It's actually, you could go into cardiac arrest. So I need you to stop working. And I was like, no, because I had a group of 9th graders that I had had since 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And end of March, it's spring break. It was spring break. I had 2 months left with them. And I was like, I'm not gonna say
Finishing the
goodbye to
year,
them.
yeah.
Like, they're going on to high school. So she made an agreement with me to work part-time. So then I just depleted my sick leave and ended up like working every other day to try to like reset the adrenal system and all the chaos that was going on. So
When did you start to make a recovery?
I still have not. I've done 27 rounds of treatment. I just had one yesterday.
What's a round of treatment consist of?
Sorry, today's Thursday. So Tuesday, it's a 5.5 hour infusion. It's like getting chemo.
I was gonna say like
Yeah.
a chemo treatment.
Yeah. So I go
And
in
how often are you doing this?
once a week since August. And it's not covered by insurance. So because it's Lyme disease. So they don't like,
Wait.
wait a minute.
Wait.
So I'm out of pocket. I told you it's wild chaos. Isn't it
You
perfect?
can track this at school because of the infestation
Mhm.
in your classroom that the school, in your opinion, isn't taking care of.
Correct.
And now you have to get treatments every week
Yep.
to help take care of.
So it's really gross, actually, if I were being honest. So they are flooding my immune system. So they take my own blood out.
Filter it.
They put it into an oxygenated like ozone treatment machine.
Okay.
And then they pump all that blood back into some weird solution. Then they pump more ozone through it, and then they put the blood back into me. So it's supposed to kill the parasites in my body.
And you're paying out of pocket for all of this in the
Yes,
school,
it
and your
is. Yes, because I got denied workman's comp twice. Because
husband's a big dude.
Mhm.
Is he not murdering motherfuckers at this point, or
he
what?
actually tried to go down to the school 2 weeks ago just to get my mail, and they locked him out. Which, by the way, my mail apparently has been thrown away. I don't have any mail, ironically. There's just a lot going on.
This is
They
fascinating.
shut down my mailbox. They took my name off the outside of my classroom as if I don't exist. So,
And you're dealing with all of this,
mhm.
and
And
they're just trying to hush you.
Mhm.
They're not even like offering to pay you to like shut you up and you go away. Oh, this is
No,
wild.
no.
This is,
No.
I don't even laugh, but this
No,
is it's almost like you're
Hey,
making this up. And
but
I'm not saying you are, but
honestly, that's why it's hard for me to articulate it because it sounds
so ridiculous.
so it's like a Lifetime movie that I'm living that doesn't make sense because from the very beginning, it could have just been
Cleaned up.
so fucking simple. Like, let's just do
What-
this together. Like, let's just fix it. It's not hard,
No.
right?
No.
And maybe show a tiny bit of compassion that I'm sick from it, and let's just move on.
No offense to you, but like the kids.
There's one student that has Lyme disease at my school that I'm aware of. And there is 2 teachers that I know specifically that have the exact same symptoms as me. And I have tried to get them to take these tests. And
They won't do it.
no, because they'll never, I don't think they would admit it. I don't think they would admit that they're afraid. But it's scary to do this. This is not easy. It took me a really long time to physically speak to my attorney after I retained her because I was like, it doesn't have to be this way. Because I love my job. I genuinely like eat, sleep, and drink my job. I love it.
Which is, I feel if I had kids in the system, that's how I would want my teachers, that they're their teachers to be.
Well, and what gets me is we have all these educators who are getting arrested for sexual assault, abuse, rape. We have TAs killing themselves or special ed aides that have, created crimes. And I'm a really good teacher. I am a really good teacher.
And you just want,
I
best
just
for your
want to
kids.
do my job in a safe classroom. That's it.
that's all you're asking
That's
for.
all I've ever wanted. I wanted nothing. I didn't even want help with like treatment coverage or anything. I didn't even want to apply for workman's comp. I just wanted my room clean. And that's all I still want. I will not stop. So if they're listening to this, I will not stop
Good.
until they clean that building and clean that room.
Okay, so how have there been any inspections or has there been any outside sources to come in and be like, okay, it's not just your word, I am an exterminator, or we have somebody that's come in and look into the walls? Like, has there
No.
been any of that?
So the exterminators are contracted by the school district and have been contracted for a very long time.
Okay.
They come in quarterly and check the little black poison boxes for
Mhm.
activity.
Mm-hmm.
They claim there is none. I don't believe that. So,
Clearly.
yeah. So my attorney asked for an inspector that we hired to be able to go in there and like inspect the room to make sure it's safe because I wanted to come back. I was willing to like work through getting treatment and I wanted to come back, but I wasn't going to go back unless I knew the room was safe. So from Christmas to April 25th, I fought and fought and fought to get the inspector in there to check my room. They wouldn't allow it. They just drug their feet.
How? Like what? They need approval.
I don't know all the details. I just know that my attorney kept saying, "Hey, like we want to pick a date. We were going to try for spring break, and then somehow miraculously that didn't work." And I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and it got to a point where I think they caved. I don't even know the details of how my attorney managed to arrange it, but he was in there on April 25th, and he said my room is diseased. It's covered in mouse urine. Plates, cups, bowls, mugs, cabinets, floor. My keyboard is soaked in mouse urine. The walls, the knobs of the ovens, they all have mouse urine. And then there's a dustpan in there that I've never seen before because I don't use this particular dustpan. It must be new. And he shined his little UV light or black light on it, and there was secretion or whatever he called it. He had a special word for it, and urine and mouse droppings swept into it. And then the broom that my students used to clean that room,
It's covered.
their aprons have mouse urine all over them. The aprons that my students cook with. It's disgusting.
How are these parents not burning this place?
They
How is
are.
this principal not just publicly hung at this point? I mean,
I don't know why. I don't.
how long has she been there?
I think this is her 12th year.
That's the problem. They need some fresh blood in there. Why is this so difficult? Like, why?
No.
I feel like it's obviously there's a solution to it. Is it money? Is it funding? They just don't.
No, it's my opinion is they don't want the public to know because here's what occurred in the fall.
Oh, the public's gonna know now.
They're going to know now. I've kept this quiet for the safety of myself, my own kid, because my daughter's in college. She's the one that's like, "Mom, go to the news." And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that." I did not want my son to, I mean, let's be real. I'm a white woman with a Chinese last name. And because of social media, kids are all friends from every school. So
Sure.
all my students are friends with my son. And everybody knows our last name. And I did not want my son getting harassed at school or like, "Oh my God, look at your mom, doing all this stuff." And I also wanted to respect my colleagues because
Okay.
like I said, my school has the best colleagues ever and I miss them tremendously. And I did not want to put them in a position where I'm putting our school out there or I'm putting a target on the school in itself. And I was just trying to do everything right and be quiet about it and just fix it for the sake of my students. And I've just hit this point where I'm like, they started messing with my medical leave, the district.
How?
So I took medical leave in the fall.
Okay.
And then it expired. So I had to reapply. And because in October, as the teacher of record, I sent out an email to my parents saying, "I'm terribly sorry I'm not there. I would love to be able to help if I can, if you have any questions, but the sub is whoever, I don't even know who the sub was because they wouldn't let me. The school district would not let me do lesson plans or arrange my sub or speak to my sub or have anything to do with it.
Is that normal?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
so that's a red
I
flag.
left for 8 weeks on a hysterectomy and I was grading papers. So no.
Okay.
So I went with it. I was like, fine. I don't know who the sub is, but I'm terribly sorry. However, I do want to be transparent with you. At this point, the ovens had not been replaced in my classroom. They were still infested with mouse urine. And I knew the kids were going to start cooking. So I was honest with the parents. My principal rebutted an email. I also sent one to staff too. And my principal sent emails to the staff and sent emails to all the parents telling them that my classroom was fine, that it's safe. They would never endanger anybody, that our safety and well-being is her top priority.
So that's a blatant lie.
In my opinion, it is. I think. I mean, and so I was very upset because I think lying to parents, not telling the truth, not being transparent is just it's the foundational problem here.
Uh,
In my opinion, it's the
yes.
foundational problem.
Yes.
Because everyone knows we can have mice. It's fine. Let's just fix it,
Yeah.
right? So
4 years into this.
yes, and that fired me up. And so at that point, I sent another email to the parents.
Okay.
And I gathered all the emails I've ever sent my principal informing her of mice. And I took all the All Valley Appliance Repair invoices where they found dead baked carcasses in my ovens, the current ovens that are in there.
Oh my God.
And all the pictures that I had. And I put them in a Google Drive and I sent it to all the parents.
Shut up. How'd that go over?
I got suspended.
I mean, rightfully so, but that went over like a
I was like, wait.
punch bowl.
What they ended up doing was sending me a certified letter in the mail. They locked me out of my email, like my Infinite Campus, which is like my teacher app to take attendance and email parents, of course. I couldn't access any of my tax documents. I couldn't access my medical leave stuff. I couldn't access anything. They just blocked. Oh, and they suspended my key card and said I was not allowed to speak to any colleagues. I wasn't allowed on any Boise district because I told the parents the truth. They wanted to quiet me down, so they locked me out completely.
And when was this?
October. I fought and fought and fought. And finally, in January, I came back and I said, you guys are discriminating against me for being sick. This doesn't happen to anybody else. And I had plenty of teacher friends that wrote me letters that said, I was on medical leave for this long and this didn't happen to me. And I had plenty of them.
So obviously it's personal.
Yeah.
They shut everything down at that
They
point.
wanted to silence me.
Huge. If a school's trying to silence you, and that's a huge red flag.
100%.
To me, that shows guilt immediately. In my opinion, that shows guilt immediately. If you're trying to cover, hide, hush, disappear, anything, that's guilt.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the principal,
just be honest.
Hey, yes, this is a problem we had. She's 100% correct. We have a solution to it. It's been resolved. The mice have been cleaned out.
We're going to replace the ovens. But see, at this point, they hadn't. So that's where I was like, wait, you're telling me that you fixed the problem, but I know you haven't, which is why they suspended my key card, because I would go in
and check and
I'd unlock the ovens.
And
I would pull the dishwasher.
That makes sense.
And I would be like, this is not fixed, because that is my priority. It's protecting
How are you knowing they're not fixed just because of how much feces is in these, or are you seeing the same stuff in the same spots that aren't being cleaned?
So again, I think they just think I'm dumb. And I would go to the same oven.
Okay.
I checked them all, right? Mm-hmm. You can't replace the insulation. I called many appliance stores and they said, hey, if they're going to change the insulation, it's going to look like this.
Okay.
So I had pictures. Well, it was the same damn insulation. And they missed one mouse dropping in one oven. And I dated it every time I took it. So I'd put an arrow towards the little dropping. I'd put the date. And I'd be like, okay, well, this was September, October, same dropping. I know you didn't replace the insulation. What happened is the school district blamed the appliance company instead of taking responsibility for it, which then the appliance company called me and said, they haven't allowed us back in your building since April. We had nothing to do with your ovens.
So the school is now pushing out the appliance company to come and fix this. Why is this happening?
They don't want anyone to know. That's my opinion.
I feel that this is so much more of a shit show now than just fixing the problem.
It is. We could have just fixed it. Like, the cost to replace the insulation was going to be more than replacing the ovens.
Absolutely.
So why couldn't we have just done that? And obviously the refrigerators were infested too, because they ended up replacing both refrigerators. The backs insulation, I think, were infested.
But not the refrigerators, just the insulation?
Yeah.
Have they actually, to this date that you know of, in your opinion, do you know if they've actually replaced this equipment, or is it all?
They have replaced the ovens. So here's the crazy thing. My students are super loyal to me. And before I got locked out of my email, I had students sending me, like, it would be like SOS, like in the subject matter. And they'd be like, we need you back. This is a mess. We found mouse urine in the classroom. And then I had one kid send me one that said, good news. I see a guy coming in with new ovens and refrigerators. So they replaced the ovens, finally, after the emails.
Years?
And which is after so much, like I said, in my opinion, dishonesty.
Okay.
of just constant being told it was fixed and it wasn't. So they replaced the dishwashers, they replaced the ovens, they got new refrigerators, and then like I said, I got locked out. And then come January, I went to the school board. I wrote a huge letter to the school board. I sent them my Google Drive. I said, this is discrimination against me for being sick. I am the teacher of record. I had students emailing me telling me that the substitute was informing them that I was acting illegally by having any communication with my students whatsoever via email. She also said that if anyone spoke of my name again, they would all get detention because they kept saying, like, Mrs. Chung doesn't do it this way. Then they said that they took down anything with my name on it. They got rid
So
of
they're
my
trying to
mail.
erase you.
Yeah, they got rid of my mailbox. And they forget. I have colleagues that are my friends
Mm-hmm.
that would reach out and be like, dude, your mailbox is gone. I'm like, awesome. Okay. Where's
Did
my
you-
mail?
Yeah.
They're like, you don't have any. Are you kidding me? I had students reach out and said, did you get my Christmas card? Did you get my grad announcement? It's probably in the trash, which is a federal offense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so come January, they finally unlocked my stuff. But there was a caveat. The only way I could apply for my second round of leave, my federal medical leave, was if I signed a contract they created for me. And the contract stated that I could not participate in any work-related activities. I wasn't allowed to speak to colleagues, students, come on any campus, email anybody. I couldn't do anything.
So they're forcing you to sign this contract in order to approve your second round of leave because you're
Right.
going through all of pretty much chemo treatment for your
Which-
Lyme's disease.
Which then I went and filed a federal lawsuit against them.
Okay, right,
I
right.
was like, that's my federal right. And
Yes.
when I took FMLA leave 2 years ago for a hysterectomy, I was asked to do my grade book. So it doesn't add up. They wanted to silence me. They wanted to make sure that if they unlocked my stuff, I wouldn't
Say anything.
say anything to parents. And I abided by the
This is
contract.
why the other teachers are seeing all this, and this is why nobody's saying anything.
I think so.
It's still kind of chicken shit in my opinion, because I feel like if I was in ESC, I'd be right there with you. I'd be pitchfork and torches.
I tried to connect with one teacher
Okay.
that is no longer at our school, who I know is sick. Whether I know she's sick with what I have, I don't know. We have the same exact symptoms. So I tried to reach out to her, and
So you think that there could be more teachers that have what you have,
possibly. I mean, it's
or maybe even students?
students. Ironically, it's crazy how I learned that somebody at another high school went and told another teacher at that high school that their friend's child goes to my school, was in my class, and now has Lyme disease. And I learned it through a whole different high school at a different district.
Oh boy, this is about to uncover a can of
Well, and the
worms.
problem is too this inspection that I had in April. Parents got wind of it, so they emailed the school district, and they asked about it. And the school district wrote back and said, there is no staff member, no administrator, and no third party conducting any kind of inspection on April 25th.
Which happened.
Yes, it was on the day of.
So they lied to everybody about the inspection.
That is what the email said.
Interesting.
So that's where I was like, wait, you could have capitalized on this and was like, yes, we've realized there's a problem.
You have an
We're
inspection.
We're ready to jump in and really aggressively take care of this. We're bringing somebody in to ensure the safety of the classroom before Mrs. Chung comes back. They could have and I paid for it.
You paid for the inspection?
Yeah. And they told me I had to pay for any holes that the inspector put in the walls with putty and stuff. I'm like, okay.
So how?
Whatever, I'll pay for whatever. I'm already paying for all my treatment, and I'll pay for the inspection too, because those kids are cooking in there.
Yes.
And it's wrong. It's child endangerment.
100% this is child
child
endangerment. This is why I don't understand how these parents aren't.
They're working on it.
Boy, they are so lucky they don't have mom, huh? Oh, you need bread on the.
So I am still in the mix of a lawsuit, and they don't believe that I'm sick from my classroom. And I have four experts, one at U of I, one at BSU, one doctor in Pennsylvania whose daughter died from what I have,
Ugh.
and a lady in New York who is a tick expert at their university. And they've all confirmed that the Western black-legged tick is here. It does host on white-footed deer mice. And I have pictures of all the mice in my room. They are white-footed deer mice. I don't know what more they need. I'm not sure. So, I don't know. So I took a bullet. I got a bullet. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. You're taking one now.
I'll keep taking them. And they're never going to shoot me down. I will not stop until they clean that room. That is my goal.
So when the inspector came and he's putting holes in, little drill bit, they're running cameras in the walls.
Couldn't, because they cleaned my room with so much bleach. His mask shut down on him. So he couldn't stay in my room.
Hold on. So you're telling me before the inspector got to the room to do this full inspection of this infestation, they tried to clean and cover up everything with bleach?
They cleaned the room.
Huh.
With bleach.
And then
So his mask, apparently, like, it's this big
respirator.
Yeah. And he said that it's meant to close on him if there's toxic fumes or gas in the room.
And this kept shutting.
And it kept closing on him. So he didn't bring extra filters, because why would he? Why would he think that he's going into a classroom that's like, got some gasoline in it, or gas of some kind, some toxic gas? The janitor or custodial staff member from the district that was escorting him into my room couldn't even stay in there. It was too strong. He had to leave. So
there's no windows, you said earlier, right?
No
so
windows.
It's
a box. It's a box. So he's like, I couldn't finish. I couldn't do anything. And he said, with looking at your room, there was enough evidence to show there's a mouse problem. I don't need to go in the walls. You've got 7 years of decomposing mice in your walls. I don't need to go in there. I didn't know.
He didn't even get a chance to conclude his inspection and found enough to say that it was infested just by.
Well, yeah, because like I said, the whole room's covered in mouse urine.
Yeah. So he's just blacklighting it and seeing everything glowing.
And he's like, you can see they're smearing it, like when they clean, because you have to clean mouse urine and stuff with certain chemicals, I guess.
Yeah. Or you're just pushing it around.
So they're just brushing it around. And yeah. So like I said, my end goal is that I return to my classroom and it's clean.
That's all you want.
The building needs, but we're hosting summer school. Oh, and here's another great one. This is actually really great. So community ed uses my room to cook.
What's community?
Like when you can do like cooking classes, like you and your wife could go take like a cooking class, or your kids can go do classes through the community.
Okay.
And they're all over the Boise school district schools.
They're using this classroom?
Well, they use my room usually. But this year, because I'm still teacher of record, I still get all the emails from my school. And my principal sent out the schedule, and my classroom is blocked out in giant red, and it says no culinary allowed. So the kids are allowed in there, but the community members are not. But the community members have been cooking in a mouse-infested classroom as well for 6 years, 7 years.
Oh my God. Mice are so gross too. God, they carry some diseases. You might as well have a bunch of whistle pigs running around in there, just a bunch of rodents.
I mean, and so, like I said, it all stems down to it being reported in a timely fashion so that we could take care of the problem. I even emailed my superintendent last year begging him for help.
Nothing.
He said he couldn't help me because his sister works at our school. So he said, unfortunately, because my sister is aware of your situation, because she's my friend, he said, I can't help you. My husband emailed him and said, I don't think you understand the magnitude of this and what it's doing to my wife as a teacher. And I'm watching her, like, I was just super emotional, and I was getting so frustrated and so angry. And there was just so much stress in our life.
Sure.
This is before, like, I even started treatment. And they said, no, they can't help me. I filed 2 grievances against my principal, And the district didn't find anything wrong with her actions. Nothing. They said everything was fine. So
What's next? I mean, where do you go? I mean, obviously you have a lawsuit against the
I have two. I have
Okay.
a state lawsuit for the like illness and
You just want to be taken care of. You're
Yeah.
paying out of pocket.
yeah. Like I mean,
You don't need to go in detail.
no, each round of treatment is $6,600. I'm on my third one. So, and that doesn't include like the medications and the tests and the other stuff I have to do. Like I have to go sit in a detox box, like a red light detox box for 40 minutes. I have to get my lymphatic system drained because the problem is I got another test done. So I went from August to January getting treatment. And then I took a 2-week break and then I took the test again and it still showed a problem. But the problem it's showing now is that the parasites have moved into my capillaries. So it's in like my red blood cells and they're building nests. So
that's pretty serious.
Yeah. So it can cause, I guess it causes organ failure because it cuts the oxygen off to your organs, which is what happened to that gentleman's daughter, the doctor in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
His daughter died of kidney failure with it. So he's been actively like, hey, you need to do these medications, these supplements, this treatment. Like you need to hammer this. Otherwise you're going to have a problem. And I'm already having organ failure. It's just not like kidney or liver or heart. It's just smaller endocrine organs, but it's still,
start.
It's just, and I've got kids, right?
You got family.
I got a family. And I deserve to have somebody like come to the table and be like, let's fix this fucking problem. Like, why are we shining away from this? Why are we trying to cover this up? Why? It's just fix it.
Why? That is like, make it make sense.
Yeah. So I have a list of like, I hope that I can, I mean, we have a court date. It's in January if it's going to go to a jury trial.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. January is the date. So it's up to them. It's up to them what they want to do. If they want to go to court, let's go.
What's your attorney? How does she feel with all this?
She doesn't really express too many opinions on like an outcome just because she doesn't want to get my hopes up or anything. She's frustrated because she's just been watching this unfold for a year, and the amount of information that like she has tried herself writing letters to the district like, hey, this is a problem, can we please just fix it? Like we have waved every single white flag to be like, let's just fix it. I really just want to go back to my job. I really just want to go back to my job. That's all I've ever wanted.
And they've made you to be the villain because
I can't even imagine like how do I do it? I want to, but I'm afraid that my colleagues think poorly of me or.
Okay, so let's say, cool, they got all new equipment, rooms, the whole school's tented. And
well, we're hosting summer school this year, so I don't know how they're going to do that. Hopefully they cancel that and bomb the building or something.
Let's say they do, and then they let you come back. What type of work environment is that going to be?
I don't know.
Is that something you would even? I mean, how's that? I mean, I know you're there for the kids, and at the end of the day,
I go back and forth. Like I go back and forth that how do I have a supervisor? She's the principal next year, apparently. As of right now, she's not going anywhere. So how do I have a true, equal opportunity in that building? I have to go to staff meetings. I have to go to our PLCs, our CLCs, and
you're always going to be that person. But I don't feel.
One person wrote one story on this back in October, and there was a couple like comments and stuff, and so that's what freaked me out to like even do this.
There's always going to be comments.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you are doing. You could be saving 3-legged cats with bobtails, and someone's going to talk shit on it. That is one thing I have learned of being in this world, and we've had a charity for over a decade. I mean, it does not matter how you're helping somebody, making a difference. So you have to fuck everybody that has an opinion. You're going to have it regardless.
That is one area that they may have on me, is that I am always for everybody else. And like my whole family, my kids, everybody, they're always like, Mom, you got to think about yourself.
Yes.
But I always am worried about everybody else but myself. Even colleagues. Like I'm always worried about them. Like this fight has been for them too. Like, don't go in my classroom and make the staff luncheon. Do not put that food in there. Like, do not eat that. Like, don't go in there. And they got a rebuttal email from my principal saying my room is safe.
And they're in there just.
Don't go in there.
Are you just watching?
I want to do like an Aaron Brockovich, where I go in that room, I bake some cookies, and I hand it to everybody. I'm like, oh, here, there's compliments of my mouse-infested classroom. Do you want to eat them? The amount of food, though, that I've made in there for my own family. I remember it was like my daughter's birthday, and I was like, shit, I don't have time to make the cake at my house, so I'm going to do it on my prep or my lunch break. And so I would bring all my stuff, I'd bake the cake, and I would use those ovens, and I would make my kids cookies, or I would just stuff I took home that they ate. Staff members ate. Staff members ate a lot of food from my room.
Man, I'd make something special for that principal.
Right?
Like,
Ratatouille.
I'd be Salt Bay and some little mice turds all eating some chocolate chip cookies for that woman.
Seriously.
That's what she'd do.
There are so many things you can get from mice
yes.
in urine. It's actually really, I've done a lot of research.
I almost asked if you're a mouse expert at this point. Because you find, no, seriously though, when you get, I was talking to somebody not too long ago, and she was involved in something crazy, and she was like, I never in a million years would have thought I'd known the facts on all this, but like, because you're surrounded by it, you're worried about your students, you're sick, you've gone through.
I know more about Lyme disease and co-infections than I do mice, but.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a lot of people look at it like it's not a big deal, but it's actually, it's deadly. Like it's forever. I will have this forever, just because I had such a long level of exposure and I didn't know it. So I've got like a dormant version of it. I've got an active version of it. And then I've got the anaplasmosis, which is an infectious disease version of it. So I have like 3 different versions of it. So I'm just going to have it forever. So it's really, it just angers me. But at the same time, I'm like, it's not this big of a deal. Let's just fix it.
That is fascinating. Like, do you think now that like it started to spiral, and
I think they spiraled and couldn't get out.
And now they're just digging and digging. And then now with your medical issues, that compounds on top of their already out of control.
In my opinion, I think that they don't think we'll end up in court. So they don't care what they do because it's never going to go to in their eyes. This is just my thoughts. No one has told me this, but it's just how I'm looking at it. Like I feel like they know this is never going to go to a jury trial. They're going to try to get me to a table, and I'll be like, great. I don't want to talk about anything except fixing my classroom. Are you going to fix my classroom? And you're going to pay for the teachers that need testing. Any teacher, any child, you're going to pay for it. Take care of the staff, take care of the room, and take care of the kids.
I mean, but how are they going to do? Are they going to send out this mass email to all the kids, and then the previous 3 to 4 years, like, hey, your kids have these symptoms? I mean, I feel like that should be the least amount that they should do, is allow the last several years of parents to know that, hey, if your kid is suffering from nervous system
many things. There's so many things that it does, that Lyme disease does.
Oh yeah, like where do you? How many? I mean, I wonder if there's kids at home right now that are battling, like just sick. Their bodies are shutting down. Their parents have no idea, and it's from eating a fucking cookie.
Yeah, or
just being in there and inhaling.
Ticks. Like honestly, it's the ticks.
Yeah.
And I guess they're in larva form, which I don't really know what that means exactly, but I started looking it up, and then it like made my skin crawl. So I was like, no, I can't. I can't read anymore on this situation. So, but they just need to fix it.
That's all you're asking for.
Yep.
That's why
all I've ever asked for.
That's why it's so weird, because it's not like you uncovered some scandal and now the district's covering it and the school's covering it and the mayor's involved. It's not like we're that deep. This is just some mouse. I don't want to say just.
No, it's legit. It's
like, you're dealing with this fecal matter, ticks from mice. All they have to do is come in here and clean it up.
Yeah. I don't know what that entails to this depth. If you have to like take a room down to studs, or you have to tent it, or like, what does that look like? Like if you let somebody in and inspect the walls, but then you have to think, then you got to think bigger though. You got dead carcass in the walls. You've got live mice. You've got
Eating the
urine
dead
and
carcasses.
feces, and then you turn your HVAC system on. You turn your heating. Then you're
Oh my
spreading it through
God.
the whole building. So you like
You're talking like some bubonic plague
right, like
shit
you
that's gonna
kind of
break
need to
out in
do
this.
like a full, just do a full inspection. Be honest. Be honest with the parents. Do a full inspection, like not with the district contracted person. Find somebody different, have them come in, do a full inspection, and then let's create a plan.
Shit, there's a pest control guy that lives the next block over.
You want to know the funniest thing? The pest control company that they use, I was driving behind the car of it, and it says, if we don't fix your mouse problem, it's free. I took a picture and sent it to my husband. I'm like, I think the district should probably get all their shit for free because they are not fixing the problem. The company.
The contract,
The company.
which is somebody's brother.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
that,
So
but
it's actually a simple fix. It's the problem is it's going to be a public simple fix, and that is what they don't want. But it's going to have to happen because I'm not stopping.
good.
I'm this far. Trust
Oh,
me,
yeah.
I got offered a job at another school and I had to turn it down. And I was really disappointed. And I told the superintendent, I said, I thought this would be done by now. I thought we would have gotten to a point to fix it. And we're not. And so I'm not leaving till it's done.
This is sad. It's sad for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now your life has changed forever.
Yeah.
Your husband's life has changed because he's going to have to help you, especially in the older years, because it's
Right.
not going to get easier.
No.
And then it's extremely sad for these kids that are in these disgust. God almighty. I couldn't even imagine if I found out.
Yeah. If I was a parent,
Yeah.
and this happened to my child at his school, then that's the craziest thing though. The people I talk to, like at my son's school, teachers, other teachers I'm friends with at other schools, they're like, this would never happen at my school. Like our principal would have just dealt with it. Like once they realize, like, okay, wait, this is chronic problem. This is a chronic problem. I'm gonna call the district.
What's so
Like it's so easy. It's so easy.
That's why this whole time you're explaining this, and I'm like, why? What is so difficult? It's not like the school's infested with mold,
right.
Where you're like, oh God, we got to shut everything down. We got to ship the kids off to different school. They're fucking mice.
Yeah.
Get everything cleaned up.
Well,
Get in there, seal what you need to seal up. If you got to clean the walls, I mean, you got all summer. You got 3 months to get this thing back on
everybody
track.
has holes in their cabinets. I mean, I had so many holes in my kitchen room that we had to fill. And there's still holes in my curriculum closet that are up top. And I'm like, dude, you guys got to fill that. They're crawling. So currently in my curriculum closet, they're climbing down like the piping that I don't know where it goes, probably the bathroom, but they're crawling and shitting as they go. And
Absolutely.
I can see it.
Yeah.
And then they come onto the cement pillars and I kind of like, I'm not a short person. So I stand up, I can see all the shit and take pictures of it. I'm like, they're still in here. There's a huge puddle of mouse urine in my curriculum closet as we speak.
A huge what?
Puddle of mouse urine in my curriculum closet.
Right
as
now.
we speak. Yes,
Right now.
from the inspection. Which means they're still in there. So.
Do you have like a bunch of parents' emails that you can just forward this link to and like, hey, this is what your kids are dealing with?
Well, so I'm waiting for the inspection, which is what took me so long to get here.
Okay.
My attorney said it will be done Friday. And it will be public record for parents.
A new inspection or the previous inspection that's going to go?
The report.
Okay.
Yep. The report. So they're putting a whole report together and sending it to the school district. And so now it's public record. They have to give it to parents. They have to.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'll give it to the parents if they want it. So.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know there's been talk of parents taking legal action.
So is there a little buzz? I mean, are the parents starting to catch on now?
Yes.
Okay, that's okay. So we're moving in that direction because
yes,
you're explaining this, and I'm like, God, if my kids came home, were like, there's mouse poop in our room. My wife's coming after your ass, and she's coming after everybody's.
I don't think the parents understand the magnitude of it
because it's played down.
Because when I've emailed them, I'm not putting the district down. I'm not criticizing them. I'm simply stating the facts. Like, hey, My ovens were infested. They have not been replaced. If I were the teacher in there this year, I would not take them in there to cook.
And when you sent that, what did that do? I mean, that
That
obviously
is what
makes it back to the principal.
So that's what caused her to send the parents an email, which she deleted me off of. So
Okay.
I couldn't get it. And she told them that my classroom is safe and that there has not been a mouse problem in over a year, which is
you have piles of piss
right.
right
So
now.
so like in October, March is when my ovens were found infested, along with the dishwashers and the refrigerators. So I'm like, that's not over a year. So that's when I sent the email saying, hey, I can't. What I told my parents is I said, I can't in good conscience stand behind that email. And if it gets me in trouble, so be it. You deserve to know the truth. Here's my Google link. Go look at the pictures yourself. Go look at the repair statements that shows the dead carcasses found inside the ovens. I have recordings of my principal telling me, yeah, it's fine to cook in here. The day I found my ovens infested, I have her recorded on my phone because I asked her, I wanted her to take accountability. I wanted her to tell me what to do. And I said, do you still want me to cook in here? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. Just don't touch the ovens. It's fine.
Does she have kids?
She's my neighbor.
Your principal's your neighbor? How awkward is that?
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
We have the same birthday too.
Like, are you talking next door neighbor or like neighbor?
Corner.
Oh, so you don't have to see her every day, but she's still there.
Yeah. You know, the saddest part is I really liked her. She was a great person.
She just can't take accountability?
She was great. And then this happened.
That sucks.
And I tried so hard. I gave her, 5 years? Thinking she was doing the right thing.
I feel like you gave her 4 years too long.
Probably. But she's a nice lady for the most part. She really is. She's a good mom. She's funny. She doesn't micromanage us. She lets teachers do their thing for the most part. And
But once it got to the point,
it got to this point, I was like, dude, do you not care? Like the stance I've taken is, what if I was your child? Like, my parents are floored. And I'm like, think of if I was your child, your adult child, trying to do her career, do what she's been hired to do. And your child is sick now from her teaching environment that you promised me would be clean. And I trusted, I believed, I'm so gullible. I believed that they were doing the right thing. Yeah. And I trusted that they were all doing what they were supposed to do.
So what's next? This is going to come obviously out next week. We're going to air this one soon, just so you can start getting the word out. But is there...
I think, my prediction is that they're going to want to mediate because they'll give me an NDA. They won't want me to talk about this.
Well, this is going to be live.
It's fine with me. I will walk into that mediation room and I will say, I'm not talking about anything but remediating that. So how do we do that? I mean, literally the building's right there next to the district offices. So what are we going to do? What is your plan? And it needs to be contracted out. Who's going in there to inspect it? How are you going to clean it? How are you going to maintain it? Because now they're building apartment complexes right across the street from our school, which is going to stir the ground. And
for sure,
it's going to
get even worse.
It's going to get so bad.
Yeah.
So let's come up with a plan because I'm not signing anything. I'm not talking about anything until you talk about this. And you take care of staff and students if they need testing because it's too expensive. I've spent $4,200 just on 2 blood tests for this. That's just blood tests. It's nothing else. So you guys need to make sure you're going to take care of these people.
I'm not the person, I've been in so many situations where I probably should have sued and we'd be not doing this podcast. I'd be in the Bahamas somewhere. But this is one of those situations where you should be getting paid out fat.
You know what though? I have said this so many times. They could be like, fine, we'll give you $5 million, sign the NDA and walk out. And I would rip it up. And I'd be like, no,
I respect that. I mean,
Fix
mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm.
Fix that. Like, go fix it.
I respect that.
And pay for my medical stuff, please. But like,
And a couple vacations.
but just fix it. Like, that is
Yeah.
genuinely all I've ever wanted. Because I don't know who, if I don't go back and another teacher comes in and I don't fix this, somebody else is going to get sick.
For sure.
It's just going to get worse.
Sure.
And then if that principal leaves and doesn't communicate with the other principal, it's just going to snowball. And it's
It already
never,
is.
it's like a house with mold where you find a little bit and it just keeps growing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't even try to talk to me about anything other than remediating the problem.
Yeah, this is
And you're going to tell the parents the truth.
That's the biggest
That
thing.
is on my list. You're going to tell the parents the truth. You're going to tell the staff the truth. And you're going to fix this.
I think it should go back to the parents' previous years, not even just this. I mean,
100%.
I mean, those kids were exposed to it. That's like being asbestos or something. Just because those kids are dealing with it now, everybody prior to that still exposed.
You got eight years, and I'm a 2-semester teacher. So fall and spring are all new kids. And the sad part, some of these kids, actually a lot of them, I have such a good relationship with them. They just keep taking my class. So I will have the same student twice a year for 3 years, and they'll join my 9th hour club class. So they'll be in my room for hours on end.
Mm-hmm.
And those kids have the most exposure compared to a kid who just takes my class once.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know that they didn't get bit or
exposed to any bacteria, viruses?
Yeah. If I were a parent and they said, hey, fine, we'll pay for testing, I would take my kid in just to be safe. Because like I said, they thought I had RA, Hashimoto's. They thought I had all this stuff. And they're like, oh, wait, it just mimics it. It's like it makes me think of the movie Venom. You know that? It's like in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So.
This is wild.
Yeah.
And it's sad. This is one of those situations that should never, ever have gotten to this situation.
Correct.
It's such a simple, easy fix to be able to remediate some mice or roach, whatever. Yeah. It's cool.
Right.
And I feel as a parent, if the school sent out this letter like, hey, there's mice, we're taking care of it over the summer.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. Nobody would care.
Thanks.
Nobody would care.
Oh, hey, there's mice in the food, the extra food for the kids that need it. Like, we're gonna take it. Cool.
Thank you.
Hey, a parent, do you need help? Like, I can help buy a shit, whatever. I mean, I feel that this is one of those situations where it's just best to communicate and be upfront and honest about it. And it sucks. I mean, that you're in this situation because obviously you're very passionate about these kids, and which rightfully so. You're a teacher. I feel
that's what we do. We don't teach to get rich. There's no way.
I feel that it's just this whole situation. Like, we should not be having this conversation.
No, and I can't wrap my head around why.
That's the biggest question.
Why was this so hard?
Is she just so worried about her image? I mean, why? But at the same time, like, you're jeopardizing children's health.
Part of me just wonders if it.
Not a big deal to her?
Okay, found a mice. Okay, whatever. Like, maybe just not thinking that it was this big of a deal to report.
Yeah.
All those first years. I don't know. And then once January of 2023 hit and I went to HR, that's when they were like, whoa, wait a minute.
This is a legit
problem. But I don't think they've been aggressive enough with the problem to rectify it. So sticky traps and little poison boxes, I don't know that that's going to, I mean, they
past that point.
Well, every 6 weeks they have a litter. So that's a lot of litters.
And then all your dead poison rats are into the wall, and then now those litters are eating the dead rat mice. Yeah. So here's a question. At any point, did anybody walk the principal to your classroom and be like, did she ever see?
In January of 2023, she was forced to. She was told, okay, this is your school. You need to go check this out. So then
Who told her that?
the district.
Okay.
So then she was like more actively like, okay, here's what we're going to do. The other part of it that I forgot to mention is now I told you that because I went to HR, I feel she was taking aggression out on me because I put a spotlight on our school.
Okay.
2 Sundays in a row. So I would get told your room has been signed off. Your room is clean. It's ready to go. You can go in there and cook.
Signed off by who?
The district.
Okay.
It was always the district.
Who's the district?
The custodial staff, the district custodial staff, health food services, maybe I think was one person from the district.
Okay.
It's never been like the health department or OSHA or any state entity. It's just been the district. They are the
Okay.
ones that have signed off on everything.
Okay.
So I would get told it's good to go. And that would be on like a Friday.
Yeah.
So then I would rewrite my lesson plans again to start cooking the following week. That Sunday, I would get an email from my principal where she went into my classroom and she took the whole room apart and sent me pictures at like 9:00 at night, Super Bowl Sunday, 9:00 at night, and would say, sorry, we weren't sure if your room was actually clean, so I went in and did it myself. Sorry, you're going to have to put it all back together. Mind you, I have 5 kitchens, so 5 sets of everything that is equally distributed.
Mhm.
So then I would come into my room and everything would be pulled out of cabinets and laying all over the tables, and she would get praised for taking the time to go in there and clean my room. But it was just cleaned on Friday. And this happened multiple times in a row. And I would come back after writing my lesson plans over and my room would be trashed. And I'm like, what the heck?
And you have to put it all back together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So she got hands on, eyes on the problem. So she knows. There's no denying, in your opinion.
No, she went in there to clean it herself to ensure.
So she can't say, oh, I never saw. So she was in that room.
Yeah. Which honestly worries me because she exposed herself.
Yeah.
I
worries.
don't want anyone having to do this. This sucks. I don't want anyone I don't care. My worst enemy could be in there. I don't want anyone getting hurt or sick, anybody. And she exposed herself too. But it was just this chronic, like, I felt like it was how much more stress and chaos can we add to this woman's life for reporting me and my school to HR.
So that's how you feel. So once you put the spotlight on the principal, she turned the spotlight back on you and just did everything she could.
Yeah.
You think she was trying to get you to quit and move on so the situation would just go away? Like what?
Possibly. But again, they underestimate me. So like I've never, in the 8 years I've been teaching, I've never had a bad evaluation. And after I went to HR, she put in my evaluation that I bring ill service to all of my students. And
so you have students that are reaching out years later, inviting you to graduations, like updating you on their life. And now out of nowhere, she writes that about you. How did that make you feel?
I spent 4 hours in my bedroom crying that night when I got it. Cause I was like, my students are like my top priority outside of my own kids and my family. And I was like, ill serve my students. How do I don't even know. And I remember going back to class and my students are very intuitive with me because I'm intuitive with them. And I had this one boy, I don't want to say his name because I don't know, but he saw me and he's like, Miss Chung, look, you've been crying. And I couldn't help it. I was just honest. I'm like, yeah, I got a really bad evaluation. Apparently I bring ill service to all of you. He marched himself down to the office and got in trouble because he was using swear words and chewed out the vice principal about my evaluation.
Good for him.
And he got detention. And I felt bad, but at the same time, it felt good to have somebody kind of stand up for me, a student that knows I would never do that. And then when I had my meeting with her, like with my principal to go over it, and she denied writing it. So then I was like, it's right here. You like literally put it right here. So she's like, well, I didn't mean it. And I'm like, but it's already written and now it's in my personnel file. So it's just things like that. And unfortunately, it's not just me that experiences this. This is you asked me at the beginning of this podcast, some of the stuff for teachers is principals have authority to make your life a living hell if they want. And they can do it in evaluations. It's protected. Your evaluations are 100% protected from them. You can't fight it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. The union can't really help you. The next year, I got another eval from my vice principal, and I was sitting with him, and he went down to that section and he said, would it make you feel better? Because I do not feel that you cause ill service to students in any way, shape, or form. Would it be better if I wrote like an opposite statement
No
at
shit.
the bottom? And I was like, yes, please. That would be really nice.
Yeah.
Because I
Just
don't ill
put something
serve my
honest in there.
students at all. But in their eyes, I created conflict and chaos for going to HR. And I also was pissed off about it. By last March, I was like,
Done.
I'm done. I'm done with this bullshit. I'm done with the constant lies that the lies that I feel are lies.
Mm-hmm.
I was just over it. And so, sure, I'd had a bad attitude. I was walking through the halls pissed off, and I kept to myself, shut my door, taught my class. I mean, the amount of times I had to continue to rewrite my lessons because they'd say it's clean and then it's infested and then it's clean and then it's infested and then it's torn apart. I just got to a point where I'm like, I'm exhausted. I can't do it.
When they would clean the room,
Mm-hmm.
was there ever a period like months would go by without any mice, or was it just right back to normal? Did you ever have peace in mind knowing that your students weren't working
No.
in?
No, because it smells.
Yeah, absolutely.
The room smells, no matter what I would do. And before I got a new washer machine and dryer, which was last year, I could never get my towels clean. And one time I went to open the dryer door and a mouse dropping fell out onto the floor. And I got on my hands and knees to make sure, like I got real like up close and personal with it to make sure it was a mouse dropping. And under the washer and dryer was a puddle of urine. And I realized that they had infested the dryer. And that's why my towels always smelt gross.
Oh my.
No matter what, no matter what type of like additive or like detergent. And so within my state budget, I requested a new machine. I didn't know if it was infested, right? But once I found the ovens and the refrigerator and the dishwasher, one can
Clearly
only
it's
assume
infested,
if your
yeah.
towels, smell like shit, that there's probably a problem. So, yeah. But I mean, to answer your question, I would say maybe I'd get like a month, maybe 3 weeks, where I wouldn't stumble across a dropping at the most.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just like open and honestly, at some point, I would email and I would get no response. I can't tell you how many times I would email and be like,
Who? The principal?
yeah, and I'd be like, I found more mouse droppings, and I'd get no response. And so then at one point, there were all these mouse droppings in my closet again, because I do a fundraiser every year with my school, and it's called Wreaths for West. So I have all these extra Christmas wreaths in my closet hanging that we auction off, and we give the money to a family in need at Christmas.
That's cool.
It's really fun. And I went to go pull it off the wall, and all these mouse droppings fell out of it. So like they were nesting in the wreaths. And I wrote an email and I was like, hey, there's mouse droppings in my closet. Can somebody come clean them up? Because I don't want to clean them up. And I waited like a week, 10 days. And finally I was like, fine, fuck it. I'll go clean it myself. So I just went in there and
this is horrible.
covered my face and swept them up and dumped it myself. And I was like, and that's when my husband was like, we're done. Like,
Yeah.
we're done with this.
Mm-hmm.
You need to do something about it. So I contacted the attorney and.
So I don't know if we've got into it too much, but once shit hit the fan, literally,
literally,
how bad did the principal try to make your life? I mean, now you're public enemy number one.
Right.
So was it just relentless, or or was it just?
It was like, it was just like this.
Okay.
Like I would get to a point where I felt like at one point I was not reprimanded. I was emailed by like my BEA rep that was like, hey, watch your tone. Because I had said to my principal, why are you dissecting my classroom when you have no idea what goes on in here? Like what you're doing is literally wreaking havoc. And I got kind of my hand slapped like, hey, watch your tone. And so I came back and apologized respectfully to my principal, I said, hey, it's been brought to my attention that my tone wasn't the most professional in my last email. I'm very sorry. I'm just very frustrated. I really want more communication with you. I begged her. I was like, I need more face-to-face communication with you about this. I need your support. I need your help.
Nothing.
I didn't even get a response from it. I had to email her again and say, did you get my email apologizing to you, asking for more communication? Oh, yes, sorry, I got it. So I would get to these points where I think she's like getting on the same page with me and we're putting all the craziness to the side and she's supporting me. And then something would happen. And then I would go backwards.
So interesting. Like, it doesn't make sense.
No. At one point, I had a feeling, an assumption that there was a recording device in my classroom, like hidden.
Please tell me you found one.
Well, I have video proof. My husband and we got a little apparatus that finds it. And I have video of me finding activity. I just couldn't physically find it. So I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. There's just some things that they
want to go back there, huh?
I know. There's just some things they knew that they wouldn't know unless they were listening.
Mm-hmm. Like what?
For example, the pizza argument my students were having with each other in my classroom about pineapple on pizza.
Okay.
Ironically, there was this debate in my classroom.
Oh, it's a huge debate. Yeah. I didn't know this was a
And then randomly the next day, my principal walked up to half my students and was like, hey, so what's the deal going on with pizza and pineapple in your classroom? And my students came to me and said, hey, I thought it was really weird. You know, so-and-so came up to us and asked why we were all debating about pineapple on our pizza yesterday. And I was like, huh. Interesting. And then there were just things I purposefully said and did in my room. And then miraculously things would happen. So I just got this feeling. So I bought a piece of equipment and
what a shitty work environment for you.
my classroom. So yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to even sit here and like talk negative about this because there are so many incredible teachers in our district. And there are and especially at my school, because I've only worked at North Junior High and West. And even at North is incredible. My principal there was a flippin' rock star. And he's the superintendent's husband. He's incredible. And I adore him. And I'm at this school. He would never let this happen. Never.
Nobody should.
No.
Not when there's kids involved.
No.
You know, not.
I don't know what her excuse is. I've never gotten to sit down and just have a face-to-face conversation. No, never.
Why?
Never.
She just doesn't, she's not one of those, or?
I filed my grievance. We had one grievance hearing where she was in there. I explained my side. She explained hers. And she, even before kind of all the chaos of like the lawsuit and stuff, she would drive through my neighborhood and ignore me as her employee. She didn't even put me on the staff picture 2 years ago. Kid you not.
She's got a personal.
Yeah, like my picture's not on it. And then at the bottom, like if I didn't get the picture taken, it would say not pictured. No, not even listed. It's like I don't exist. So, and I don't know why. I had never done anything to her ever. Just reported nice.
Ask for the mice.
Yeah, just some help.
To get cleaned up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry this has happened to you.
Good. Like I said, it's a bullet. I'm willing to take it. So it sucks. It does suck because I do just want to do my job. I really have missed it this year. So I thought maybe I would enjoy it. Like, being a, stay-at-home mom with my own kids. But
like, hell no.
I mean, I loved it. That's what I did and it was great, but every day I would just think about all my students and then I do the same things every year and like the way I categorize, like, baking breads and different things in the holidays and just fun stuff. And that week would come like this week. This week's huge at my school right now. And it's
because they're getting ready for summer
and it's like, the seniors that are graduating at Bora come do the walkthrough at the school and students are coming to visit and drop off stuff like grad announcements and see you because they're leaving. And just being with your colleagues, and we've got colleagues retiring that I adore, that I can't go to the retirement party. It's weird. And it just sucks for just wanting a clean classroom. It's not like it's not like I slapped a kid and got suspended, or, I mean, I've seen teachers slap kids. Nothing happens
I got
to 'em.
slapped as a kid. My teacher. I deserved it, but yeah, I got snatched
I
up.
have seen teachers like flick kids' hats off their heads and like
Yeah.
swat them across the side of the face. And I'm like, dang. So it's not like I did something like that. I'm certainly not doing what
Just
all.
asking for a clean room.
Yeah. I don't need to be Cinderella. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Unless you're going to give me some pumpkin,
Yeah. Some glass slippers. And,
yeah, like some magic. But
wow, this
so,
is
yeah,
crazy.
I just want them to fix it. So
Yeah,
maybe this will
rightfully
help.
so. Yeah, well, I'm glad you were able to
Yeah,
have a voice. That's kind of the whole point of this podcast, is just giving people a chance to talk and give either their story or something like this, or people need to know about certain things. Like,
yeah.
this is why we sit down and have this conversation. And when you reached
Well,
out,
today I reached out to you because it is a conversation
Yeah.
versus, like I said, a girl tried to write a story about it in the fall.
Yeah.
And there was just so many holes, and it just didn't sound right when I read it. And then the comments coming through, you could tell people just did not understand the foundation to,
Severity,
yeah. So I was like, okay, I have to be able to talk somewhere where it's,
here.
yeah, like they're hearing me, not somebody else's
Yeah.
impression of it. So,
Well, I'm glad we were able to give you a voice. Hopefully this helps, because I mean, it's a great story. I mean, this is fascinating. I mean, I'm going to be following up on this because I want to know.
What's funny is because I have talked about it so much, it doesn't feel like a big deal anymore.
See?
So, but when I'm curious, like when you hear this, does it infuriate you to think?
Oh,
that,
the whole
like,
entire time I'm like looking like mom would be murdering people. Like, you have no idea the wrath that would rain down if she found out that this was going on and if our kids were in that classroom.
It's good to know, because
And if there's parents that aren't, those parents are a fucking problem.
I just think they don't know the truth. I think
Well,
they're
I would
so
hope
confused.
so. I would really hope
Yeah.
that these parents have been somehow blindfolded, pulled out of the chain. But I mean, these kids aren't going home like, yo, our classroom smells like piss. I feel like they'd be like, our
Yeah,
this classroom stinks. Like,
it's bad.
and I know you're probably trying to do everything you can to cover it up and clean, and so it's
Yeah.
not. It's got to be embarrassing for you.
Oh man, the amount of Bath and Body Work plugins I was putting in there. It's like,
Yeah.
this is not working.
And it's got to be embarrassing because you got these students and they're pulling out trays and it's got mouse shit in it, and you're like, God, like, you're in here. You are just want to teach these
Yeah,
kids and have a
yeah.
relationship and
Right.
give them even if it's, how long's your class? An hour?
45 minutes.
45 minutes?
Yeah.
It's 45 minutes for that these kids know they could come into a cool classroom with a cool teacher and just
Have fun.
have fun.
Yeah.
They're not
And they're not in math or
not learning the,
history or something. Not that it's boring, but
that
come
shit's
on.
boring. Let's be honest. Math is, God, that's one of those.
Yeah.
That's one of those.
It has pushed me into the, like we talked a little bit about your kids and homeschooling. It has pushed my mindset of like, do I need to do something else?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I want you to be as honest as
Okay,
possible. I'm
okay.
cool with either way. Knowing everything you know now,
Mhm.
as you being a teacher, and you get a little taste of both sides of home, if you could do it again, would you homeschool your kids or would you put them back in public school?
If I would put them in public school at the age that they were, if I was a new mom now, I would not put my kids in school.
Really?
Things have changed. My kids are 19,
Mm-hmm.
17. So Tanner has a year left.
Yeah.
But if like I work out with a whole group of women who are just now having, they got like toddlers, and I'm like, God, I don't think I could put my kid in school.
Mm-mm.
And our numbers are dropping significantly. Enrollment is dropping. It's freaking people out.
People have no idea, and this is a conspiracy of mine. I'll tin hat on right now.
Mhm.
There are millions of homeschooled kids, and nobody realizes the number of public school kids are declining at a rapid rate, and no one's talking about it.
They're saying it's lack of growth. Like they're saying my school is losing enrollment because it's an older neighborhood.
How?
There's not new development
How?
and not new families. That's kind of like West Data's growing because they're, they're branching out towards Hawaii and
There's no way. There's so much growth and so many people moving here. Everything is maxed
yeah.
everywhere you go. But the numbers of kids going to public school are dropping. Make that make sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense.
Fascinating. I was praying that, but I was going to ask why, if you were going to put your kids back in public school,
No,
if you had the chance to start all over.
No, like if my kids were entering middle school, I would probably consider taking them out and homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there needs to be more homeschooling cohorts.
For sure. And I think, because I posted a video because the wife and I did an episode where we just talked and we talked homeschooling and then we did a big fast and all that crap.
Yeah. Oh, I watched it actually.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody watches our show, but what was I gonna say? I lost.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're
It
good.
was about whether or not you would put them back in school.
Oh, well, we get about this, like there's these co-ops and things like that, and there's some really cool programs out there, but a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but the negative side of homeschooling is people like, how do you do it? Like how am I supposed, my wife and I both work, and I get that it's not for, you can't, like we're blessed. We've made major sacrifices to have this life. And I get not everybody has that ability, but if there was these, I don't want to say programs or schools or whatever that was almost homeschool based. Like if there was like a class where I could teach kids beekeeping and gardening, I would have 100 of them run through my backyard a week.
So that is I know I downstairs, I was like, oh, I don't want to talk about it, but I'll talk about it. So my future vision is to have a large building that is an elective homeschool cohort. So like, I don't know, 5 elective teachers. We all come together so that the homeschool families can bring their kids and be like, hey, we're going to go to FCS, 2 days a week. And then there's art and there's yoga or biology, maybe some cool elective science class. And they get out, but you're still in control of like what they're doing.
I feel that is going to be the future of schooling.
Yeah.
Is these, I'll just call them co-ops, where people are coming together.
Yep.
And they have a skill or a trade or just something to be able to provide, because I feel as the homeschool starts to grow and people start realizing, oh shit, I don't have to be teacher knowledge trained to be able to raise my kids, because, and no offense, these kids that are graduating they're not the fucking brightest.
No, there's a lot of stuff missing.
A lot. And it's to the point where she comes home, she's like, oh my God, even our 10-year-old hanging out with other 10-year-olds, she's like, man, they have a hard time reading, that they don't know how to say certain words. And we're like, no, everybody, and we try to explain, like, everyone's on differently. She's like, no, like basic.
Well, that I think
writing
comes to class size. Like I was talking with another teacher who was trying to convince me to teach FCS at Mountain View, and I think Eagle is hiring. And I was like, oh, how big are your classes? And she's like, 35.
Is that a lot?
My class at West Junior High has no more than 20.
Okay, so 35 is a lot.
And honestly, it's more because my classroom is small.
Okay.
But I could not fathom having 35 kids, trying to teach them how to deal with a knife, like a chopping knife, and making sure nobody loses a finger. And I can't imagine 35 kids trying to teach them how to read and write. And like the class sizes are too big.
My biggest problem that I see with public schools, and it was a product of how I was raised, was I can't sit and listen to you talk and be like, oh yeah, this is the binomial and carry the pi r squared. My mind doesn't work like that.
Hands on.
I have to. And so there's such a huge portion of these kids, especially I feel now with these tablet kids, and they're so, they have to, they can't just sit and watch and listen anymore. Now they have to fidget. Their minds are so wired because
it's like instant gratification on their
phone. There's an instant fix. And so now to take little Timmy and sit him down in a classroom for 8 hours a day doesn't work anymore. No. And the whole entire, I feel, school model is almost prison like in these classrooms where these kids are just, it's just cookie cutter.
Yeah, you are so spot on.
And then you're pushing out this almost pre-programmed factory worker. They don't teach kids how to think. And this is why it's cool talking to you, because you have a different approach. I look at teachers like, meh,
Yeah.
I'll just be honest, because
Yeah.
not you, because you're connected, your kids have a relationship with
Yeah.
you, but I take a basic teacher that's been in the system forever, they don't have the passion anymore,
Right.
and they're just putting out a product. And these
Yeah.
they can't communicate, they have no social skills, they can't even do basic math, writing, reading. And it's like, why are we sticking our kids in these
Yep.
prison style education forms now?
Yep.
And we're expecting this to work. Like, times have changed so much, and it's like, what, everything's evolving in the world.
Right.
We got
So-
AI,
Yep.
we have so much technology, curriculum, history, everything is changing
Correct.
except for our schools.
And it's interesting how you asked me about COVID, and this just came to my mind, is because COVID put everybody online,
Mm-hmm.
then the teachers where you still were hands-on, like math,
Mm-hmm.
went online. So now, even now that we're back in the classroom, my students will sit in my 9th hour, which is like our 30-minute end of day kind of class to do homework and get stuff done. And they're doing math, but their math is in their Google Classroom. They don't have a book and like binder paper
Or
and
writing anymore.
and they're not. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, don't you want to scratch a piece of paper? Or my own son will come home and I was like, buddy, don't you want like a piece of paper and like line that up? He's like, no. It's like, it's right here. I'm like, but how do you?
See, here
I'm like, what the heck?
they do it's they're on a computer. Everything is writing. That's how the wife
all
is
of it.
everything. Nope. Break it down.
Yes.
It's not just until you hit button until you get the right answer.
Yep.
Nope. Do it again from the start, and they break it. But then these kids aren't writing. I feel, and I'm not speaking here, but everything's typing or texting, and they're losing basic writing.
Well, they can't have a conversation either.
No.
And in my classroom, one of the lines I say the most that drives me crazy, and my students were so awesome. They made me a huge vinyl sign to put up on my wall, and I haven't hung it yet because I want to keep it for myself. But it says, read the recipe in like giant letters, because they expect me to be their walking recipe. They don't want to take the time and like, read all of it and try and process what they have to do. And they want me to tell them. And I'm like, no, you actually have to read it. And then you have to take what you read and you have to go measure and you have to actually do what I've taught you. And then you have to move on to the next procedure. And it's, it's part of.
Because these kids aren't used to that, because they get instant gratification through
Yeah.
typing here, or they could just chat GPT it, or they ask Google
Yep.
and they get it. How do I make this? Cool. There it's laid out.
Exactly.
They don't know how to follow simple directions.
Yeah.
And I hope you're listening over there, because that's how it is here. And that's one of the huge benefits that we feel as homeschool parents, is that everything is a lesson. And I'm sure you're the same, you especially being like,
Yeah, my kids sometimes are
teacher,
like,
mom, and
Mom.
like, Mom, yeah, I get it. Like,
You know what,
I'm
though?
not your kid or
Also,
student.
My son was so cute last night. He's a big lacrosse guy. So he's trying to go collegiate, and
Good for him.
yeah, he's like, Mom, his season just ended and now his club season's starting. And he's like, Mom, I need to wash my gear. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. He's like, no, I want you to show me how to do it so I can do it. And then I'll get up to like make him breakfast since I'm home. And he'll like, I'm just going to do it myself. And I'm like, what?
No.
I wanna
There's
do
a
it.
part of you that are like, I want to do it because
Do
that's your
it. He's
your
like,
baby
"Mom,
boy.
I'm a
But
big boy. I got this. I'm
Yep.
like, okay, fine. You're 17. I get it.
it's interesting. It's going to be very fascinating to see how our education system goes in the next few years. And not getting political, but obviously Trump pulling the education system and putting it into the states. Okay, I do too. You see,
people are freaking out. They're freaking out. I don't know why.
What's the famous saying? What's his name? You send your kids off to the Romans. Don't be surprised when they come back Romans. It's the same thing and that's when people are like, well, why should I homeschool my kid? It's like, well, do you trust the government? And they're like, well, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Then why are you allowing the government to be involved in your kid's education?
Right.
That scares the shit out of me.
Well, and clearly it's not doing any good.
Anything that the government touches is absolute.
When like my husband and I were talking about that, when, we look at something that's not working, like smoke jumping, for example, they were trying to figure out their parachute. Should they jump square or round? they go through all the mechanisms to figure out which one's the best. We have an education system. We're at the very bottom in the country, in the world. So maybe we need to fix it.
If our kids are getting dumber, our education system's not
Yeah.
changing. Like, why is nobody? So yeah, I'm interested to see, how do you feel that that's going to change now that Trump put it on the states? How do you feel that that benefits us?
I mean, I think it's going to benefit in terms of all of our district curriculums, in terms of what we're given to teach. I hope it
Okay.
changes. I hope it does what we talked earlier,
Mm-hmm.
where maybe it gives more freedom in the classroom, less like you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this test. Maybe it'll help minimize testing. I don't know. I don't think having a Department of Education and all the union representation, I know I'm probably going to be looked down upon about this, but in my experience, the union didn't help me. Union doesn't help
No.
kids. We don't need it. I think it's paid jobs that I just think it's needed. I think we have a 10-year program that protects teachers that don't need to be protected, that shouldn't be teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think it's a good way. It's like what they're doing with the government. I mean, my husband's in the government, and sure, there's stuff that's happening that I'm like, crap, that's really going to affect your retirement. But it's going to help in the long run, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that whatever he's doing in the education system is going to help in the long run. Maybe the initial, it's going to be hard.
But that's anything. We've gone so long with, I don't want to say corruption, but just mismanaged, unsupervised programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you trim the fat to make things better, it's uncomfortable. It should be like that in anything in life. You're starting a new business, you're starting a new job, whatever it is. It sucks for a while. That's where I wish we could fast forward to this first year of this presidency, because I'm so over
the chaos.
Doja.
Yes.
Shut the fuck up. Let it. He's been in office 60 days, and it's 60. What are you supposed to do in 60 days?
Yeah.
It takes Congress 10 years to pass something.
Right.
So that's where I'm at with everything. I'm just like, you know what? Whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless. So here we are. We're in this boat.
For sure.
Strap in, right? So, but it's like, okay, if things are going to get uncomfortable and the schools have to take a step back and be like, oh shit, it's on us now. It's going to be, should be uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, that means there's change happening.
Right.
And if change is happening, change is usually good, especially if it comes and involves children. Let's make this better for them. So if we have to suffer, we have to make changes, we have to let things go, we have to build it. Cool. Figure it out, because what's happening now, how this is going, our kids are getting dumber.
Yeah.
They're graduating dumber.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I hear some kids say like, oh, like, I'll give you an example. My own son next week, he's like, I don't even know why I'm going to school next week. The lessons and everything are planned around seniors. Seniors are gone this week. So I'm spending a week kind of doing nothing in my classes.
I'd stay home.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, okay. Well, I mean, so, and that's happened a lot throughout the year, where I'm like, what did you do all day? He's like, sat on my phone.
See?
Okay.
She's done in 2 hours, making bread, running that business, and running a podcast.
It's awesome.
It's like, why?
Life. Like, it's actually like life.
It's life.
Yeah.
And they're traveling, they're on the road, and it's just blows my mind. And I completely, we were those, never in a million years would we ever think we would be these parents. I just want to state
Oh, really?
No. Never. We've never even discussed it. They're in the neighborhood. And they ride their bike through the neighborhood. And they're in
school. Where they at?
Where did you guys? What's this one? Lewis and Clark. Pepperidge.
Oh, that's where my kids went. I lived like down, like literally one street from Pepperidge.
Yeah, so you know the Fowlers and probably Nick.
Yeah. Nick's like
Nick and Jess. We're delivering.
Nick Fowler got my daughter's first turkey.
That's how we met. She came home saying, this teacher wants to take me hunting. I was like, what the fuck this dude? There's nobody taking you hunting. Who's this guy?
Yeah.
And then we ended up becoming friends. But
Jessica and I are friends too. Yeah.
We're just texting like 2 seconds. They ordered bread for a friend of this in town. So yeah, I'm sure I probably know your husband, but
his name's Quincy.
And I lost my train of thought. I don't know. That's twice. I've never done that on an episode before.
Never been a parent to homeschool.
Oh yeah. So we're those people. Like we're cool. We had lived our lives, and then once everything hit, my wife came to me out of the blue. We've never even discussed it. She's like, I'm pulling the girls. We're homeschooling. You're either with me or you're against me. Those were her exact words. I was like,
Okay.
okay, I'm with you, but I'm like, are we sure we know what we're doing? She's like, no, we don't have a clue. I'm done. We're not playing games. We're out. And so that was it. And that was right in the beginning of all of it. And they've never been, we give them the option every year. Every year. I tell her, I'm like,
If you want to go.
I tell her every year, I'm like, you should just go back into school because nobody knows who she is. They know because she's with a youth group and she's involved in the valley. So all the school, now all the boys are sniffing and all that shit. But so yeah, so I'm like, you should
intermingled.
They are. Everything's intermingled here.
Like, it's crazy. Tanner will be like, Mom, like 3 kids just reached out to me. I don't know who they are. I'm like, oh, those are my students. Oh, that's cool. We're going to hang out next week.
Valley.
I'm like, sweet.
Small valley. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we enjoy it. I tell her every year to go back, we'll go for like the first week or two and just see how lame it is and be like, yeah, fuck this. I'm out. Because she comes home, she's like, oh my God, like zero drama. She's like, oh my God, these girls, like, this is what they talk about. It's just insane.
Yeah.
And how cannibalistic it is and just.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm glad I don't have, and it's so nice because we don't have to deal like, oh, honey.
Or you don't want to go to school today?
Yeah, it's like, now we're like, just knock 2 hours out, you're done.
I think as long as, if you're homeschooling, you're getting some socialization and sports and group and stuff.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't even pitch any of this. I don't know if you're a coffee. I'll send. Is your husband in the cigars?
Yes.
Is he?
Yes.
Cool. So Platoon Cigars. He's a Marine. Oh,
that's cool. If you saw my husband, you would think he was in the military. Everybody asks. Yeah.
All right. We'll have to meet him. If he's a smoke jumper, I'd probably I would love to have a conversation with him.
Ask Fowler. He'll tell you.
Platoon Cigars, Marine, combat Marine, got out, became a cop, got shot in the line of duty.
Wow.
He's got an incredible story. We're going to have him on soon. And then, so he started the War Machine, which is cigars. And then Sea State Coffee, I'll send you home with some of his cold brew and some beans. He's a recon Marine here, buddy of mine. And then obviously the sour bee from the girls. We made you our stinky bee. So this is Gouda cheese, or not Gouda. Asiago. Sorry. Asiago cheese. And we do garlic. And then there's an Italian herb in it. It's one of our best sellers. It rips and it's good. So
cool.
We try to give every guest something. So
cool.
Yeah, it was one of those weird things. We started making it. I got into it because of my guts, and I picked up a bunch of crap overseas, and it just tore me up. And so my wife one day was like, we're done. You're done eating wheats and breads, and it's all garbage. And we started making our own, and then now we have a business. So don't ask. It's one of those stories. So
I love it. Well, if I ever get back in the classroom, I'll have your wife come be like a guest.
I'm actually I bake better than her.
You're the baker?
I figured it out. She quit.
Rad.
She quit. I'm going on the record, and she can vouch. Yeah, I bought her all.
You can be my guest speaker.
I bought her all of this crap because she wanted to get in the sourdough,
Yeah.
and then she was like, "Fuck it, I hate it."
Oh my gosh, I just got a ton of stuff for Mother's Day.
Oh, perfect.
Sourdough making,
yeah. So I was like, well, I just spent all this money on cast irons and just the crap that comes with it. You don't need any of it, and
have though.
It is. And so I started doing it, and we busted out this loaf, and it was like the most amazing bread we've ever tasted in our lives. And my wife, and then Britt was like, okay, I'm back in. I'm like, yeah. No, we do it as a family now, and it's a lot of fun. And so we were up last night till like 2 a.m. rolling out dough.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Because it took forever to ferment to bulk.
We were making sourdough raisin cinnamon bread last night.
It's my favorite. That's one of my favorite loaves.
My daughter was gone at school all year. I mean, she's just at BSU, but she was living down there, and my husband's like, hey, so when's the next loaf coming out? Because we haven't bought bread in months. And my daughter's like, wait, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I've been making bread like every 3 days because I'm bored at home, not teaching. So I talked to my goldfish. I got 2 dogs. My son is super busy with lacrosse, and
you're just home like, so.
I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'll master sourdough now because I'm not teaching and I'm bored. So that's what I've been doing. But yeah. It's fun.
Well, good. You could go home and tell us how horrible this is. And,
no, heck no. That's awesome.
I appreciate you coming on. And thanks for your time.
I appreciate you having me, letting me.
Thanks for telling the story. Of this craziness that's going on here in the Valley. And it's a very unfortunate of the symptoms you've come down with and the surgeries and the crap that you have to deal with. And then obviously these kids having to be in those environments and just horrible.
I'll keep you updated.
Please do.
I'm sure once this comes out, it'll.
Oh, I'm sure this is going to be like kicking a hornet's nest. So thank you again for the time and being able to share your story. I appreciate it. Thank you. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
See, that wasn't bad, was it?
That was very interesting. I'm